right, guys, I wanted to start our show with you gazing into the eyes of General Grievous. There he is.
Thank you.
He's
Thank you for that.
Yep.
Thank
Yep.
you.
And I don't know if you can tell. Obviously, you can if you use Legos at all. These are certainly not the real Legos. These are like the knockoff ones, but it was still fun.
Yeah.
Still fun to put it together.
building. I love it.
build-
So if the
I like his
employees are
eyeballs.
getting out of line, Tim, do you just like take that out and like stare them
do.
down? Your
Yeah,
employees.
I do what I just now
Yeah,
did. It just gets right into the
Yeah.
right into the
Yeah.
camera. Mhm.
Yeah.
I tried it with my eyes, but it doesn't work. It's just kind of like, oh, you're getting older. I'm like, all right, I'm not doing that anymore. So I use this instead.
Yeah. Yeah. The guy with like 16 lightsabers twirling around.
Yes.
He's more menacing, you know.
I wasn't scared of that.
Yeah.
Well, this is episode 226 of the Current Gen podcast. My name is Tim. I'm here with Kyle and Dan, and it is summertime. I don't know about you guys, but I'm feeling that summertime gaming thing where it's like, I'm kind of glad there isn't a Final Fantasy 16 like game this year. That's like I have to play the new thing. I don't know. It kind of opens me up to play whatever, which we'll talk about stuff we're playing. But what about you guys? Are you kind of like bummed that there isn't a marquee release like we had last year?
You know,
Again, it's not time for new stuff.
No new stuff.
This is the era.
I'm
this is the era of old.
plenty busy with old stuff, Tim. I'm even playing new content for old stuff right now, which we'll get to at some point, I'm sure. So, the only thing I hate is that it's particularly brutal this summer, but I'm already indoors playing games. So what am I talking? You know what I mean? Like, what am I trading it for? Some make believe game that we all might be liking right now? No, I'm playing some tried and true ones right now. I'm totally happy.
That's right. Absolutely.
Yep. I agree with that. Yeah, so I'm with you. I'm playing new content for old games. I'm absolutely right there with you, as we talked about last week, and I know there's more to discuss this week. There are some new games out that we should highlight. Two specific kind of like re-releases / remasters or remakes, whatever you want to call them, and then one that is a new entry in a series that I don't think any of us like, but it's significant, and that is Super Monkey Ball Banana Rumble. Sorry, it's hard to say that. It's a lot of words.
Balls.
A lot of words that I never say all together. But anyway, so that game is out. I know it's a new entry in the series. I think it got at least like overall good reviews. It's not one of those things that you kind of look at and go, oh my word, is that in the 90s? Do I have to play Monkey Ball now? Like, it's not that. It's getting like high 70s, I think. Low 80s.
If you like Monkey Ball, you're going to play Monkey Ball. It's just...
Yeah, I don't know. I like Monkey Ball, and I'm not going to buy or play this, so...
There you go.
I think it's just, obviously, this is a fun party game at best, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And like, where's the, there's no parties going on over in this domo, so yeah.
Yep. So so that is happening. Also, Luigi's Mansion 2 HD is out now, which is really cool. I have not purchased it. It's full price, so I understand that it's got a full visual upgrade, and I'm sure it controls better now in the new system and all that.
Tim, I mean, I could tell you because I'm playing it. So.
And
well, my wife and I are playing it. So my wife, big fan of Luigi's Mansion. I've told the story of me playing Luigi's Mansion for the first time was me helping her beat the boss of the first one.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yeah, this is the first time playing. I'll see if I can figure this out. And I did it like first shot. So because I'm a pro.
MLG, yeah.
We get it. Yeah, we get it.
I just thought Sekiro and then Luigi's Mansion. I just combined the two
things.
Those
are the two.
Yeah, it's like the same thing. It's the same thing. So the third one, same thing. It's the same exact thing.
Yeah.
So the third Luigi's Mansion, when that came out, that was really fun because that one they did like a really excellent job with. Like it looks great. It's
good. Yeah.
Got the charm of the first one because I had never played 2. 2 was only on the 3DS, so that was stuck on handheld. So I wasn't even aware of the second one, what the deal was. So I liked the third one a lot, or we liked the third one a lot. So this is the first time jumping into the second one. It's it's more of the same charm. A little bit of a different approach though. So it's not just one locale. There's actually more than one. You actually go to multiple places, which is cool. Because the whole thing is like there's a dark moon. It's called Luigi's Mansion 2 Dark Moon.
Dark Moon. Mm-hmm.
So the Dark Moon gets shattered into pieces. So, and it lands in different places. So the first place you go to is like the traditional haunted house. Then the second one is like this, like, it's called like the twin buildings or something like that. So it's a little more like industrial. But yeah, it's the same concept. You're, getting the ghosts and doing all that stuff. Yeah, it looks good.
Making your Luigi noises as you move around.
Yeah, I can't remember in the third one if he did the same exact. I feel like they would maybe if it didn't have it in the second one, they would do it if the third one have it. But he's like he hums to the songs quite a bit.
He hums the theme song. I love that.
I love that. Yeah,
but he seems to almost like do it more. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. It's been a while since I played the third one or even the first one. But yeah, just like these games are just so quirky and like just the environments, just checking every little nook and cranny and like seeing what you can suck up with your vacuum and using the flashlight or the dark light to like make invisible things reappear, and just all like the little quirky things of like just trying to figure out the environment and see what's going on is there. So yeah, if you like the first and the third one and you also skipped this one, you're going to enjoy this one. There's
how are the controls? It feels good.
Yeah. Nice. I really think the third one is the culmination of everything. I think it definitely feels the best, looks the best.
But about the lore though, I have to play 1 and 2 to play 3 first.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, how now you can know play the journey that Luigi's on.
Yeah, I have to know, like, is it all connected in some giant, in some giant cosmic way?
Yeah, absolutely. You have the what's his face, the little weirdo scientist, baby old man. I can't even remember his name.
One who gives you all the tools and stuff.
Yeah, he makes his little noises like puja puja and like all that weird shit that he says because they don't speak English.
It's like the Sims style of speaking. Yeah.
Yeah. No, but it's I hope this one does really well too, because then I feel like maybe then they'd even go back to the first one. Import that too, because
that's the only one I haven't played is the first one. I never played that one.
Okay.
I need to jump into this series so bad. I have no good reason why
definitely
I'm
play
these
3.
games.
3 is so
that's what and like 3 I think goes on sale to like $40 from time to time, so I think I can catch that on a sale.
Yeah.
The third one is really
Nintendo
fun. Sale.
It's very
fun. Like it's yet another how did Nintendo make it look this good type
that
of
I do remember. I remember when it came out the year talking about a lot. I was just like, this game looks great for a Switch.
Yeah, why is it so pretty? What's going on?
It's like
it's sorcery. It's just sorcery.
It is. So this one definitely looks good too.
Yeah, I think if you've played games enough in your life, you can tell it's like, oh, it's like they sharpened it up from like what a handheld game is.
Are there any remnants or bones of the hand? Like when you're playing it, are you like, yeah, this is a handheld game at some point, or does that not feel like that way at all? It does. Okay.
I think in the third one you communicate with, was it EGAD? It's EGAD, right?
EGAD, I was like, it's kind of like an initial, EGAD.
I think you would communicate with it because they like to do the thing of like, oh, what's like the thing that they're playing this on, right? So it's a DS, right? So he literally gives you a DS, and that's how you communicate with them. Like he takes it out, he unfolds it, he clicks it, close, like, so like kind of that thing. It's like, oh, well, that's still in there. They didn't like change it to a Switch or anything like that. He literally takes out a DS. But other than that, I mean,
I guess I was more meaning like limitations wise. Is it like when you're playing the game and you're just like, oh, this definitely was a handheld game.
So does it feel good? It feels good. My one thing that's like, it's like a gripe, but it's not something, if I was reviewing this, I would like knock points for it. But like the way that the game progresses is more like mission based, which I don't like necessarily.
Okay.
It just feels fragmented. Like it's just like you're doing the thing, and then he's like, all right, I'm gonna teleport you back.
Because it was one like that at all, or
no, you just
so that would be a limit. Okay, that's
same with the third.
It literally was a handheld game, so there's nothing wrong with it.
I actually remember testing out like some of the 3D stuff on this game. Like certain Nintendo games were actually pretty fun on the 3D.
Right.
And
even on Ocarina of Time, I did switch it up every once in a while. I'm like, yep, that depth is there, and I would turn it off immediately. But like I did like checking in though. I did like checking in.
Agreed. Some games I left it on all the time, like Pushmo. Sorry, we don't have to go down the 3DS trail right now, but that was one that I like. 3DS was an essential. The 3D, it was essential for that.
The Nintendo specific games probably. It's usually those first party games, like with anything that like they push the really tech of whatever that thing is.
Yeah,
right.
Like there's moments in this one where like you go, and it happens pretty often. You go up to a window and like or through a crack, and you're seeing what's on the other side of it. So I feel like they probably did that for the.
Oh, it popped out at you. Yeah, the ghost would get right in your face. Right. And I remember being like, "Whoa!"
So,
I'm telling you, that was like, because I'm not into 3D movies or televisions or anything like that. This is like the only 3D tech that I like. Was like, I get it. Like this actually. you know, I get it was a gimmick and stuff like that, but I did really enjoy, and like my eyeballs and brain processed it properly too.
Well,
so I guess
that's why it was unique, because you didn't have to wear anything. It was just
glasses
free. You slide, you know, the thing, and
it was more of like an inner depth. You know, there was some stuff that popped out too, but like I felt like there was a lot more like inner depth than anything. But very cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. So yeah, it's really fun. It feels more broken up as you're progressing through the game, as opposed to 1 and 3, which just has like a more natural flow with it. But again, I don't think it makes the game worse. It just has a different feel. So
no, I'm all about resurrecting and rescuing games from old content. Like, do it all the time. Make it prettier. I still have my 3DS
copy. It makes me want to kind of look at it in 3D again just to see what it looked like.
I got mad at myself the other day for selling all my old handhelds. Like I still kind of wish I had a 3DS and
I still have a new 3DS and then a bunch of DS and 3DS games all in like one of those travel pouches, you know.
I
should have kept my Vita.
Mine. Yeah.
I should have kept my Vita.
I should have kept
my Vita. Yeah.
You have your Vita,
right?
Yeah.
You're the best, Tim. You're the best of us. Keep that stuff, man.
You're the archive.
It's because I already went through the where's my Super Nintendo? I'm so sad. Where's my N64? Why did I get rid of that? Where's my PS2? I can't believe I sold. Like,
there was something.
I already did all those things and really wish I hadn't. So I was like, you know what? Unless I have like a money crunch or some serious spacing issues where there's nowhere to keep this thing, then I'm keeping it. And I'm gonna find.
I convinced myself. I'm like, I'm not gonna play a 3DS ever again. But like, the truth is that like there are a lot of games on there that are only ever going to be on there that I really wish that again I still had access to. So yeah, your philosophy is correct, sir.
And all the DS games work on it too. That's kind of my DS library access too.
Yeah.
But I'm glad this is good. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Would you say it's worth the full price?
Well, you know, with any Nintendo game, there's the Nintendo tax, so you know, it's again, like I said, if you are a fan of 1 and 3, to me, it's a no-brainer. I feel like for $60, it's full price, but you're going to enjoy this.
Yeah. I mean, it's not full price for Ubisoft, but it is for Nintendo, I guess. So.
Yeah.
Because we're up to 70 now, aren't we? Aren't most big games 70?
Most games are 70, yeah. And I think the Switch-wise, Zelda was the only like none of the new games that got announced were 70. I still think they're playing in that 60 realm, but they're like, people will buy Zelda for 70. And they were right.
Save $20 if you did the voucher thing for...
I did too. Yeah. And that's still going on. Like you can.
I know you still see the little voucher thing on the corners of a lot of games on their eShop.
Yeah.
But
sure.
This it doesn't seem like it's like overly short or anything. Like we're only
there's a lot to it.
In the second location, and there's still I'm guessing 3 other locations.
That's
or 4. 3 or 4. So yeah, it's not like it's super short or anything. So yeah, if you like the first and the third one, to me it's a no-brainer. Go play it. It's fun. So
yeah, nice. Cool. I do remember feeling there was some limitation on the handheld without having the analog sticks with moving around. So I imagine it's a little better on the movement with the Switch because you've got the actual.
It does in the settings let you tweak low, I think medium high, or maybe it's just low and high. The sensitivity.
Nice.
So it still does feel even at low like for me just a little overly sensitive, but like you adjust to it if you're just used to.
I don't think you guys remember on the new 3DS especially, but the 3DS it had a little like nub.
It was a
analog
nub.
stick.
Yeah, I didn't count it.
So that's what I mean. Like you still had that, and technically you could go in 360 degrees, kind of.
Yeah.
But it wasn't.
It was an idea for sure.
Yeah. That's why the Vita was cool.
It was functional. I will agree with that. But
function was there.
You could have just put a joystick there too.
By the way,
they did.
But the Switch was there's those bad boys on there, so they figured it out.
They did figure it out. Yeah, I will reiterate that on the 3DS, that not only is there an amazing library, but there are games that will only ever live there because of the 3D and Pushmo is one of, and Crashmo. Those games were like these adorable little Nintendo only titles. They didn't come out anywhere else. Those are the kind of like, hey, what's that IP gonna do? Is it just done?
Yeah.
That was just like a gimmicky thing. But those games were awesome. It was a little puzzle game. I don't know if you guys remember. You're this little Pushmo character, and you like literally push blocks either towards you or like away from you, or you pull them towards you. But you use the 3D to kind of see the depth, and then you got to hop up, like opposite Qbert style. You got to hop up the little tower and pull and push blocks. Yeah, really creative. Yeah, a lot of depth of field happening there. So you can still do it without 3D. Like you could still make a fun little.
Yeah.
Well, what's the one where you're rotating the thing? Fez. Right? Yeah. But it's not so much about depth perception. It's just more of like checking
orientation. But yeah, it was 3D too. Yeah, that's right. You could like.
I mean, if they ended up announcing like a Switchmo, a follow up on that IP, and it was somehow a Switch version, and then some kind of mechanic in there where you're switching something, I could totally see them, and I'd be like ridiculously excited for something so stupid. So I'd be very pumped for that. But anyway,
it's the little things, Tim.
It's the little things. So yeah, that is out. Ugh. That's not the only remaster, or is that a remake? I don't know if that's a remake or not.
It's a re-release. We'll call it a re-release.
That's not the only full price re-release. We've got another one. Beyond Good and Evil 20th Anniversary Edition is now out, and
this is full priced.
I shouldn't say full price. I don't know if it's full price.
Okay.
Let's find out.
Seems like definitely more minimal effort than the Luigi thing. So
yeah.
I agree with that. Let's see how much it costs here on Steam, for example. It's $20 on Steam.
Okay.
Yeah.
$20 on the
Switch. This game is like 20 years old. Like it better not be.
Right.
Yeah.
It better not even be 40. I'll tell you that.
I agree with that. But you know, the someone from Ubisoft did say that, hey, there's something in there you can learn more about the main character's background and her story, and just shows our dedication to this IP, to this franchise. And I was like, franchise?
Yeah, you can't say franchise.
It's one game. What are you talking about?
You released this game like 4 times now, but that's not a franchise.
Franchise? Huh?
That's why I wish it was full price, and then everyone be really confused. And then what I predicted would come to fruition, which is the second game is inside of this one. So that's what they should have done.
Pregnant
that's
game.
What they pregnant game. That's right.
I mean, listen, the game I just talked about, Pushmo, is more of a franchise than Beyond Good and Evil. It actually had a follow-up called Crashmo. So
sure.
It's at least a series at the very least.
It's a franchise. That's more of a franchise than this Ubisoft.
Touche, Tim. Touche.
Anyway, but that is out. Actually, now that I mentioned it, let's see how it's doing on Steam reviews. Just out of curiosity, what do you guys think it's at?
I don't know. People like this game, so
at 72%.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I was gonna say
now
81.
Now it's up to 4K, 60 FPS. I mean, it could just be because of Ubisoft that it's getting.
Sure.
Game runs. Like some people saying it's running choppy on some hardware.
Oh, wait, the PC version's not optimized? Yeah. Oh, no. You don't say.
It's like a 20-year-old game. There's no excuse.
Get out of here.
There's no excuse.
The other one I wanted to highlight, just because I mentioned it several months back when they announced that there's this really silly multiplayer game out there called Oh Dear that looks really funny. So go check that out. It's like stupid graphics. It's the kind of game that looks like it'd be fun to play at a party with some friends and some drinks. But anyway,
nice.
So there's a game called Oh Dear that's out there. All right. I don't know of anything else that's new this week. Even if it's DLC or expansions, was there anything else this week that's new and worth highlighting?
Oh, GTA had a new edition where they added bounty hunts. So now you can go pick up people on bounty hunts, and it's a new
other players
company that you buy. Yeah, I don't ever play on. I play online on my own server. So
I see. Yeah,
but people are on playing it, and I got on the. I don't know how they keep on. They're like, hey, here, buy another business. Here's more missions, and the missions are still like new and fresh, and they get full voice acting. Just it's all these years later, and they're still just dumping money into this game, and they're free updates. They've never asked for. You never have to spend money on.
There's no subscription on this game,
well,
really.
They're making
much, but you don't have like that's. Yeah. It just gives you like free like money, like gives you like an allowance and like some perks and stuff like that. I think everything has this like light subscription out. They want to. I think kind of Elder Scrolls started that trend.
They can afford it because of that subscription and all the microtransactions.
I imagine enough people are subscribing to it, and enough people are buying those stupid shark cards for like in-game money. That is, I mean, obviously, there's no way that it's not doing well. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, we're talking 12 years later, this thing is still going on. I'm just shocked that I'm still like jumping into this game and going, oh my God, here's a new thing. You're figuring out new ways for me to kill people, like, or, NPCs or whatever. You fully voice act the whole entire thing. Like, it's just nuts to me.
Yeah.
GTA 6 is going to be the greatest thing to ever happen to society. It's going to be a cooler invention than peanut butter and jelly, like for sure.
Do you think they will relaunch online or leave it and just add content to it?
I think that they will relaunch online and keep this one online. So if new one doesn't work, just like Red Dead Redemption Online didn't work, they'll just be like, whatever, we got GTA Online and we're still updating that bad boy.
Is Red Dead Redemption Online offline or just not popular?
No, just don't really support it. Like there's maybe some new content here and there. It's not offline. You can get online and play fine. There is stuff to do. It's just like the moneymakers GTA Online.
Oh yeah.
It would be like Fortnite being like, you know what? I think we're gonna release another game in the same genre as a competition to our own game called Fortnite. That's exactly what Rockstar did.
Sure.
Except one's cowboy flavored, one's cops and robbers flavored. You know,
Yeah.
so
That's so true.
So yeah, you can't exist. And I honestly think that I think GTA 6 will have like GTA Online 2 and like, but they will have the old online. So if that thing just never takes off, you know, you have the infrastructure of the old one just fine.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, that's it. Yeah, you can shoot people in this game. That's the little thing that people are doing.
GTA is still rolling. 11 years after release, right? Wasn't that 2013?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Dude, 6 is gonna be bananas though. Like
it might be the greatest thing ever. I'm not kidding.
It's just gonna be insane.
It could be the coolest thing to ever exist. I don't know.
We'll see. I wonder if one of the things they'll work into it. Not that this is a GTA 6 prediction show. We'll do that later. But I wonder if one of the things they'll be able to work in is, like, you know how when it comes to internets and memes and social media, which is clearly a big part of 6, like they made that clear that
very clear
influencers, social media, that whole experience is something they want in this game somehow. So I do wonder what real life memes and things are they going to regularly like put into the game or update the game. Like I wonder if they'll do that so they stay relevant.
1,000%. Yeah. I think that you may even have, like, you know, when they have the radio interviews. Sorry, I know you said we're not going to have a whole conversation about this. You know, when they have like the commercials or radio interviews and stuff like that when you're listening to the radio in GTA, like I guarantee you they'll have like meme people on like we're here with the chocolate rain kid checking in 20 years later. How are you doing? You know what I mean? Like just checking it, like, and like actually having them come in and voice act like a real interview and stuff like that. And how I know they'll do that is because they kind of did that in 4 and 5. Like there were like the boom headshot guy, Brucey, you know, from way back in the day. This is a Counter-Strike meme or whatever. He was like a main character in GTA 4, and then he also was in GTA 5 as well. So it's like they're I don't know, they're masters of just capturing the time. They just are, you know, just in a total bottle. So we'll whatever you just said, like they're gonna pull off.
I wouldn't be surprised if they do have a thing where everything's online anyway these days. Like there's gonna be no doubt that you need to be online for most of the experience. I wouldn't be surprised if they have actual like live radio / podcast feeds of like new episodes, new songs.
Oh, yeah.
Like I wouldn't be surprised if they actually treat it like, hey, you're in the real world and you're going to hear the latest single from fill in the blank band. That, like, I think there's going to be elements of that.
They kind of do that with GTA Online because like every time I get on, there's either a new radio station or new songs on the radio station on the pre-existing radio station. So it's just like it's like these are all like these little tiny training wheel ideas that are already kind of there that I think they're just going to lean all the way into and make big, huge, gigantic mechanics out of, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, when that game comes out, probably fall of 2026 or whatever, when that arrives, dude, like I hope no other games bother releasing that year because that's already like the best game of the year.
Nothing else for like a 6-month window around it should release. Like just nothing.
Just
delay everything.
Delay it all, make it better. Polish it.
Like but they have to escalate things, right? Because I mean, like, what could they possibly do even more than what 5 is already capable of doing? Like, what are we going to space?
Prettier.
Are we going to space?
We might go to space.
We're going to space.
Everything that they're already doing, but swampier and prettier. And that's
very pretty.
They don't really need to do anything else, to be honest. You know.
But Kyle, they could go to space.
I don't want that at all. Go play Saints Row. If that's what
dude, what I mean, this is in Florida, right? What if you can like set up your own, not quite Disney, but we can tell it's supposed to be Disney, and you're like setting up like your own Planet Coaster game within the game. You know what I mean?
Dude.
That's awesome. Yeah. Like there is a whole like mechanic within where you're building Universal Studios or Disney World or whatever. Yeah, that's amazing.
Gator World. So awesome. Gator. Well, actually, that already exists. I'm pretty sure.
You're using that to filter launder money through.
Or you can totally set up your own little like really dumpy little reptile shop that's in your own house that no one wants to go to, but it's really, you make it really cheap so they show up and they're like, is there an alligator in this guy's living room? And he's like, come on in, and
it's like a little mini game, you have to hit all the buttons
mud wrestling. But with a gator. But with a gator.
You want to protect your patrons? No? Okay. All right. Let the gator out. Oh my goodness. I can't wait for this game. I can't wait for this game. All right. Well, speaking of games, that one's not out yet. Otherwise, that would be far and away our game of the year already in June.
Yeah, it already is actually.
It already is. But that game's gonna be so great. but there are some great games that have come out in 2024. We know there's more on the way. The second half of 2024 is looking promising. We don't know for sure if they'll deliver on every front, but I think all of us feel pretty positive about some of the tentpole releases that are on the way. But it's time for us to take a little look back to first half of the year. We're at that point. We're halfway through. As Jeff would say, we're halfway there.
We're actually literally
truly
halfway there. Truly halfway there.
We're halfway there, guys. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna talk about, and you don't have to do any kind of order. Like that can all wait for the actual Game of the Year stuff this winter. But
I need like a list.
We'll kind of look through some contenders for you personally. Like, hey, what are some games that? And I can go first if you need a minute to kind of like catch up your list of just here are some contenders we've got. Actually, what I'll do first is I'll just go through some of the games that have the highest open critic rating. And I know a lot of people use Metacritic. That has become like the go-to like brand when it comes to consolidating scores for everyone. I totally get it. I just prefer that OpenCritic combines all the platforms into one combined score. That's all. Like it's kind of weird to have like the Xbox version got a 81, but the PlayStation version got a 83, and the Switch version got a 79. And I'm like, well, what is it though? Like so I don't know. So I like them when they're all combined. Personally. So that's why I use OpenCritic. It also doesn't bog me down with all those stupid movies and TV shows and music. Blech, I don't want to hear about that stuff.
Do one thing, right?
Yeah, do
imagine
one thing
listening to noise that's melodic and
do one thing really well. What is it that Ron Swanson
moving pictures? What is this? The 30s? Come on.
Don't half-ass two things, whole ass one thing.
And that's what OpenCritic does, and that's why I like them so much. So, all right, so I'm going to just talk about the ones that are eligible for Game of the Year for now. We do know that like the Destiny 2 and Elden Ring DLCs got great reviews. The re-releases of Paper Mario and Shin Megami Tensei 5 and Last of Us Part 2, those all got stellar reviews, and they're all like in the top 10. And Persona 3, for example, Reload. But those aren't eligible for our Game of the Year rules because they are not new games this year. So we'll just focus on the games that are considered, favorites for this year. Okay, so no surprise at all. Right now, the current new game that's at the top of the list for OpenCritic is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, still sitting at a 93. On Metacritic, I believe it's a 92 at its highest. Right. So super well received, well loved. Of course, everyone on our show absolutely adored this game. I think all of us except for Jeff finished it. And he got really close to the end before he's
like at the point of no return.
I think he's at the point of,
he's like on the precipice of it,
which is still like several hours of game left because those missions are long. But
it's like boss fight after boss fight,
and it's so many boss fights. Even on easy, it's not going to be super easy. But especially when you step away for a while, like I feel bad. Like I don't know if I'll ever finish it because when you go back,
that's a tough. I felt like I was learning that combat system that entire game. So and not in a negative way. Like I just felt like it was so complex. Like I just felt like it was kind of like I needed all 70 hours to kind of really get the combat.
Yeah, I stuck with it because I wanted to stay in the groove. I knew that if I stepped away for something else, I'd come back.
Same. I remember what it was like going back to the DLC for the first game to play the intermission or whatever, and I was like, oh my god, like this is so hard.
Which felt I didn't want to go do that. The base game.
Say again.
So. I said, and because obviously new character being Yuffie, it just felt different than anything in base game anyway.
It did, yeah. Especially, absolutely so, yeah. Because I'm not, I was so used to playing with Cloud and talking about Yuffie not playing the same at all. So,
Yep. Well, another one that's rated really high that did come out this year. It's one of those surprise games this year is Balatro, that kind of poker roguelike. Game.
People really like this game.
Yeah, like listen, I played it and I had a good time with it. I just didn't get hooked. Like some people are so hooked they can't stop playing it. It's their go-to thing. Like I totally get it. It is very fun.
Yeah.
But its luster wore off within a week or so of playing it on and off, and then I moved on to other stuff. So yeah, but it is cool. I do understand why it's so well liked. And then we get to Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, which is sitting at a 90.
Nice.
OpenCritic. I guess Kyle might like that one. Maybe a little bit.
It's fine with a lowercase f.
We got Tekken 8 at a 90 as well, alongside, I believe Hades is at a 90. Hades 2, sorry, is at a 90. Now that's an interesting one because it's an early access and the game isn't even totally released yet. I'll make unless they really ramp up production and the game gets a 1.0 or close to it release this year, when we get to Game of the Year, I'll probably push for us to like, hey, let's wait till that's totally released because it's not complete. Like I played a good
Yeah, I probably won't play it until it is complete, to be honest.
Yeah.
So even though I probably won't even be able to get to the end of this content, much less the end of the real content. So
yeah, but those
games are hard.
Hades 2 Early Access is fantastic. Animal Well is up there. I played that one for a little bit. Interesting little pixelated kind of puzzle platformer. Unicorn Overlord.
Yeah, hell yeah.
It's still ranked really high this year. Of course, that's one that I have meant to jump back into so many evenings, and then I still haven't, but I really intend to play that one.
I played quite a few hours of that and really, really like it. And if the bug bites me again, I wouldn't be mad.
Yeah, so good. All right, and then I'm trying to skip through the ones that we either don't care about or have never heard of, like Solium Infernum as one example of what I'm trying to skip past. Okay.
Love Solium Infernum. What are you talking about?
You said
totally know what that is.
You actually said it correctly. Maybe you do know what it is. Dragon's Dogma 2 at an 87. I believe it's still at an 87.
Heck yeah.
Let me double check that. But yeah, obviously people are head over heels for that game. Which is, what's funny is that was such a requested game. Like where's Dragon Dogma 2? And they finally announced it and then released it. And I don't know. It feels like it's gotten quiet already. That just could be me.
Yeah, I think that people this was a pretty niche game to begin. You know what I mean? It's small. Yeah. It's a small circle of fans, anyways. And I feel like they're talking about it still. That small circle. But if you're not in it, and you're like us, where we just kind of play everything, and we're not just hanging out in one conversation type of circles. I think that it seems quiet, but I think it's still going strong. I think people who are really into Dragon's Dogma really liked it, put a lot of hours into it, and yada yada. But I would be interested to know what the sales were like.
Yeah, me too.
It was tricky for me because I was still in Rebirth. I think I was still just playing that.
Me too.
And then I just wanted to, because I like to try to break things up where I'm not playing huge games all in a row. And that's
So those are two back-to-back huge games, and I was juggling them. I remember I was going between both of them, and that was a nightmare because they're both third-person action kind of character action games in a way.
But they play so differently. So
exactly. So there's a lot of that's not dodge, idiot. A lot of me screaming at myself. So that's fun. So I'm 40 hours into that game, and at the very end of it, I'm just scared to. I'm at the point of no return. Kind of makes you not able to do the rest of the side quests. I'm just a little gun shy about
gotcha.
Do I want to beat it?
I thought you finished that for some reason, but you are kind of like where Jeff is on Rebirth, you're right at the end.
Yeah, I'm at the part where it's if you continue, things are going to be screwed, and I'm like, nope, no thanks. Yeah.
It's funny to me when games are kind of like, do you want to?
Are you sure?
We're gonna go. It's funny because I'll talk about Elden Ring later, but FromSoft doesn't do that. You'll hit points of no return, and you didn't realize you just sealed off several quest lines and stuff.
17 NPCs just drop dead.
No one tells you that. If I hit X or whatever right here, I'm gonna burn this tree, and then everything changes, and I shouldn't have done that until I was ready. FromSoft doesn't care. They're like, sorry, play it again if you want to do that a different way.
It could.
Okay. Mullet Mad Jack, Kyle, is 87 as well.
That's an 87?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
That game is so funny.
This game is so great. Yeah, it's so incredible.
Yeah, if you guys are curious about it, go just Google search or YouTube search Mullet Mad Jack. It's insanity. Along with Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, which I think was made by the Sayonara team. Yeah. What was that one called? Sayonara or something?
Wild Hearts.
Wild Hearts?
Yeah. Such a fun game.
Also at 87, Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown.
Very cool. Good for Ubisoft.
Sitting right up there at, kind of my short list for favorites so far this year. There's a handful of those, and that one's up there for me. Nine Souls, Dan, that one that we've talked about before that you did a demo of a long time ago. At 86. 86 for that game. People love it.
Yeah, I still want to play that one. That one looks really cool and has a way more violent vibe to it than you would anticipate.
Yep.
For sure. So
a new one that wasn't on the last time we did this was at the 1 quarter mark, and a lot of these were already on there. So here's a new one to the list, RoboBeat, which I mentioned a few episodes back, where it's very much it's Doom, where you're shooting to a beat of music, but you can change out your cassette tapes to make it a different tune if you want. Cool. So yeah, that one's a pretty neat one. I'll skip through a few other ones here. Islands of Insight, which I'll talk about in a second. At the end, I guess, when we talk about other stuff we're playing. It was at an 83, which is pretty cool. Helldivers at an 82. Stellar Blade at an 82.
That Steam review bombing must have brought that Helldivers score pretty down. 82. People are still playing that game. It feels like a 9, like in terms of like impact, but people really spoke.
I gotta correct it. It's actually at an 83. So this is just critic reviews. It's at an 83.
Oh, this is just critic reviews. It was always kind of right there then. Okay, all right.
Yeah, 83. There we go. I'll change it. A Stellar Blade, I believe, at an 82. Grand Blue Fantasy Relink at an 82. I don't know if you guys played that at least a little bit, right? Did one of you beat it?
Yeah, I played the demo, Kyle.
Which
Kyle
game?
Did that one.
Grand Blue Fantasy Relink.
Oh yeah, I love that. That's still like, gosh, you all guys see that for $30 or something like that on PS. You gotta buy that game. That game is so good. It looks so incredible. Cool. Yeah. Yep. Really, really, really enjoyed that one.
Don't forget, Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 did release this year. Believe it or not, it actually is out, and that's at an 81.
See, like I remember seeing all the reviews for that and being like, that's a 9 in my head. Like the noise was a 9, but I guess like it got enough like 7s and middling scores elsewhere. Okay.
I mean, let's be honest. None of us kept playing it.
No, yeah, I
was kind of a hard out at a certain point. I was just kind of like, I just want to do this right now. It's like it's asking a lot of me as a gamer to sit and listen to the noise and I don't know. It just wasn't doing it for me. It was beautiful, probably the best looking game I've ever seen. But
I'm definitely gonna watch a YouTube video of the whole thing someday. But I don't ever want to play that ever again.
I just didn't want to play it. Yeah,
super annoying.
Last 80 that I'll mention, and then we'll jump into some of our contenders, is Banishers Ghost of New Eden, sitting at 80
still
on Open Critic as well, which I think that's an accurate score. I personally liked it more than that, but I think giving it a high 7, low 8, somewhere in that range is pretty accurate, just in terms of like the technical quality of it.
Sure.
It was a strong AA.
Sounds like a 9 or 10 story though, or stories. And
characters, fantastic. Yeah, but when let's look at like the design and the layout and the maps and the way fast travel did or didn't work, and some of those things you kind of go, okay, Dontnod did a really good job.
Yeah, like this is definitely the dev who did Vampire.
Yeah, exactly. A few others down the list. Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes, I think, sitting at a 76.
Should be higher.
Princess Peach Showtime came out this year. Capes came out this year. Rise of the Ronin. Those are all in the 70s. The Thaumaturge. There was a new Contra game this year, guys.
It's actually a pretty good year for 7s.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff. Pal World sitting there in the 7s.
Sure.
Right
where it belongs.
Right where it belongs. No Rest for the Wicked sitting at 7s, and most of that had to do with its I think it really had some performance issues. I know I had a lot of
early access, right? Or is that a full release?
Very early access.
Yeah, well then, yeah.
It's only Act 1 of that game.
Enshrouded had some pretty wild, or some mild, performance stuff too. But that game rocks. So.
Yep. Yeah, I love Enshrouded, and it's only getting better. And I think No Rest for the Wicked, the devs have gone quiet. To me, that's good news. I know their publisher private division's getting shut down, but they did put out an official statement saying that doesn't, we're not only are we continuing, but we're actually hiring more people. So they're just kind of like heads down working on the game.
I love it.
Early access is out, so I'm all about that. Okay, so that's kind of a rundown of what we're seeing, critics and review wise. For me personally, I'll just list off without talking about too many of them in depth because we already kind of mentioned a few of them. Some of the ones that for me are certainly on my short list that are going to be somewhere mentioned during Game of the Year. I don't know where they're going to land on a list. Will they be in my top 10 honorable mention? I don't know. But Kyle, you mentioned Enshrouded. That one's going to be in the conversation for me. Balatro, I'll definitely have as honorable mention somewhere as a nice little surprise, card game that I enjoyed. Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes. I am committing to jump back into that. I just bought a copy on Steam so I can play it on Steam Deck. Yeah. And I don't think I'm going to stay subscribed to Game Pass for too much longer, but I might change my mind on that. I was going to let that expire and then maybe circle because I just haven't used it
Well, yeah. What? Don't use it until like maybe these promised Xbox games starts coming out. Then you can pick it back up. Yeah.
And I like, for example, I bought Starfield on Steam, so when the DLC comes out, I'm going to purchase that on Steam. And so I was looking at, I was like, what else do I need? Nothing really.
I think you can play that game on Steam Deck too. I think they verified that, or if it's unverified, but it works well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, Rebirth, of course, is on the list alongside Unicorn Overlord, Banishers I mentioned already. Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown is on there, and one that is going to be somewhere mentioned by me multiple times is Mini Shoot Adventures, which I think is a ridiculously adorable and super fun game made by two people. It's great. It's basically Legend of Zelda, old like Super Nintendo style Legend of Zelda, but it's a twin stick shooter, your little spaceship. It's so good. I have no idea why it's so good. So those are some of the ones for me that jump out. A few others I haven't played as much or played enough of to add, like Dragon's Dogma. I only really scratched the surface on it, but that has a high likelihood if I do dive in, like I really want to, that one could jump up there. I've got Grand Blue Fantasy Relink on my, planning to play this year list. So, and Stellar Blade. So I have a few of those that are on my, like, I really want to get to. But what about you guys for the first half of the year? What are some of your contenders in any order?
Go ahead, Dan.
So I was trying to, as you were, rattling off all of those, just look to see like, all right, like what have I actually played of this year? And apparently not very much, of games specifically that come out this year. But aside from, of course, 7, Rebirth, obviously.
Did that come out this year? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Does that qualify? I don't know. It's kind of a remake, right?
Yeah.
Are we going to count it at the end of the year?
I'm not, but
I think we'll probably omit that one this year. So
I do feel very strongly for the game that I am still currently the main thing I'm focusing on right now, which is Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Hero. That score is objectively wrong. Everybody who gave that 7s or lower are fucking stupid.
Yeah, sometimes like the general take on game, I like it's like not quite the dramatic sense of like Gotham Knights, but like sometimes you just like hear review scores and you're like, I don't know about this one, guys. Like this doesn't feel right. Like it feels like people didn't get it or something. I don't know.
This is just like, it's just too like, trying to be like in the past, and it's like, that's okay. Stop acting like some dumb, annoying, like hipster youth who's like, oh, everything's got to be new and like cool and whatever. It's like, no, like some things are made specifically to be like an homage to what came before it. And considering
it's what they said it would be, they were like, this is a spiritual successor to Suikoden, specifically Suikoden 2. And we love it. We know the fans love it. We want to make a follow-up to that, a spiritual successor to that, and they did. And it's exactly that. And
I agree.
The sprites look great. The backgrounds are way more like I the first time that we spoke about, I don't know if you remember, Tom, I was like the lighting in like some places, like especially like caves and stuff, the ground, the stony ground, just having like a wet, like sort of texture to it, and the light, it's just like, it's way more detailed than it needs to be for what this game is. The music is pretty great. I mean, it's like mostly voice acted except for like NPCs, which is amazing.
I mean, that's not old, you know what I mean? Yeah, there might be other things about it that feel like ancient, but like that quality of life specifically, like, man, it goes a long way, to playing a long JRPG is when the game's talking to you,
And it's not bad voice acting. It's actually pretty solid.
Pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty all right, yeah.
For like what this game is, like,
absolutely,
it's not a God of War Ragnarok or something like that, but
it's no Metal Gear Solid,
but yeah, like, and I hit, like, the last time I hit that point in the story, I was like, oh, things are getting interesting, and then I just got to, I don't know how far you are, Tim, so I keep trying to like
I'm restarting my playthrough on Steam now, so I'm going back to the beginning. I think I was like 10 hours in maybe, which I know isn't okay, it's not nothing, but I was early enough that I felt okay about restarting.
Well, I got to the point where I think you said you had gotten, where there was a battle, and then like there was like one of the battles happening on the field, and then like something happened that's like a big deal, and you're like, oh shit, like things are about to like shift. So like right after that, there's basically like these two like things that you do, kind of going off, splintering off in these two different directions to kind of like gather intel, and one of those is pretty messed up. Like, and just like it's just right now it's like in a groove, and it's like staying there, and I'm just like, that's why I'm kind of like I don't get it. Maybe it's a slow start and people really just were like, no, this is a 7 because
it is a bit of a slow start.
Yeah, the first
like
a
PS1 and PS2 RPG. Those were all.
I was gonna say I don't remember any of this Suikoden games ever being like, boy, that one just really picked up. Like, I just don't remember that. I think they're all kind of slow.
It takes about 10 hours to get to
purposeful though, not like.
Yeah, it's setting things up.
I'm finding a lot of moments where it's as slow as you want it to be. Like, I'm still collecting people for that very first mission, and like I hit the limit a long time ago, and I'm still finding more people after that without progressing.
Yeah,
I was like, let me hit all these other towns real quick before I progress, and like found 2 more people, and I'm like, I don't even have room for these people. So.
That excitement when I played the original Suikoden games, and when you talk to a character, and if they have a little like art profile that clearly is then you get that moment of like, oh, can I recruit them? Can I join? You have that little moment, and this game has captured some of that as well, which I love.
Yeah. So
I bet there's like one like girl in town who I think she's a healer or something like that, but she's got like split personalities. Yeah, she's got like split personality or something.
She's still in my party.
Francesca's awesome.
Yeah, she's I love her, and like you can not get her like. Yeah, like you could not get a lot of these people, obviously. That's the whole point, but, like,
if you just don't go exploring, you just don't find.
Nothing told you to go to that town, like way over there. It's just something you're just gonna have to take.
And she's very useful because she's basically your white mage for. I mean, I'm still using her, so. And she actually hits pretty hard too.
She does. Her physical
I immediately wanted to put her in. I'm having to go back to the.
By the way, when she finishes a battle for you, she will yell like she's angry a lot.
Yeah,
I like that.
She's insane. She's actually insane.
She's actually crazy.
And then the other one is Stellar Blade. That game didn't deserve all the controversy. Those people are also fucking idiots. That game is really fun. The platforming, I think, I know, Kyle, you said you had frustrations with that. So the platforming definitely, if they make a sequel, which it seems like they're definitely going to, they need to make that better.
Over 1 million copies, I think. That's amazing.
Yeah. So they were happy with that, which is good, which, they've said that they have ideas for the sequel and hopefully plan on it. But yeah, I mean, I think the story is actually pretty interesting. I think the game is visually beautiful. I think the combat is actually really fun. It's one of these hybrid things that seems to be kind of shifting, some of these games shifting towards, which is cool.
Yeah, Black Myth Wukong. After everyone got hands-on time with it at Summer Games Fest, a lot of people are saying it's Stellar Blade. That's
which I love that. That to me, it's like and it's like, obviously I've joked around like, oh, Souls games, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But like I like the idea of merging these ideas of like the things that do work of these games, like the Souls games, that there are elements that I do like, but mixing it with other things just to do something unique and interesting instead of just.
The industry is all about blending together mechanics, like it always has been, and I like that people pass off mechanics.
Inspired by one thing and another thing and create.
Sure. Look at when Darksiders was coming out. Darksiders, it's just Zelda and Prince of Persia. It's just this. It's just so. It's like all those things all those things are cool though,
how terrible for it to be,
and the second one is just God of War. It's just this, you're still naming good games. Like what's going on?
Hey guys, Capcom did it last year with Exo Primal. We loved that one, right?
Absolutely.
100%.
Merge some stuff together.
Yeah. But yeah, those are the 3 for me.
Contenders for you so far. Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
there's other stuff.
I feel like they would probably drop down towards the bottom depending on what comes out later this year and how amazing those are. But
yeah. Kyle, what about you? What are some contenders for you this year already?
Besides the ones that have been mentioned, I don't have a lot that I'm being like, I have to have this on the list by the end of the year. There's probably only 2 right now, which is Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, which I will fight. I will have a very long.
It's one of the best received in that series, by the way. People love it.
Pretty good. And Dragon's Dogma 2, I'll probably fight pretty hard for. I feel pretty passionate about. How much I like that game.
I
need to give that one more time. That way you're not the only one trying to talk about it.
So I'm definitely going to be in the same. Please
use my pawn, guys, if y'all are on PlayStation. It's Yennefer. She's so strong.
Oh, I think I have recruited her. Thank you.
Yeah. Go back and recruit her again. She's probably twice the level that she was before.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I actually have had her for I was only like 10 hours into the game, but I'm pretty sure most of those 10 hours I had Yennefer. I was like, yeah, she's pretty great.
I'll have that game beaten by you can have her for your entire playthrough,
So, thank you.
She'll know where everything is. I've explored that map so much. I think that is like one of the examples of like how you do an open world game, not unlike how I felt about like Elden Ring, even though like Elden Ring wasn't one that I was just like greatest game of all time. I was like greatest world of all time for like 1,000%. Like I don't even know if anyone could argue against that. I feel kind of similarly about this one.
Yeah.
For different reasons. I think they kind of have different ways of going about it between those two. But yeah, a lot of the other games I've been playing, like Persona 3 Reloaded, I really liked a lot. Doesn't really count, you know. Helldivers 2, I liked a lot, but I don't know if I'm going to push for that one by the end of the year, because there's just going to be bigger and better games that are kind of.
You think it'll be a contender for your list when the year's all done?
I could see it being in maybe making. Like the bottom couple or something like that. I really like that game a lot, but like I gravitate more towards like single player, like story games. So it's like that's kind of my list just ends up being kind of just that, you know, at the end of the year, because those are the games that I really remember. And Grand Blue Fantasy is a lot of fun. I like the game a lot, but it's a 7 parading around as an 8. You know what I mean? Like
sure.
And like, there's nothing wrong, and I don't mean that in any sort of demeaning way, but it is not, you know, like it's a small story. I think it's only like 8 to 12 hours long, the main story or whatever. You could stretch it out to 20 if you're really kind of doing everything. And the end game is very Monster Hunter-y. So if you really want to put time into like it being like your one and only game, I don't have time for that. Yeah, sure, like that game could have a lot of legs to it, you know, but and it's still getting a lot of content for free and paid content as well. So.
Okay.
But you know, I don't know. It's just not going to be one that I'm going to be like, oh, well, this has to be on 10. We got some big games coming out at the end of the year, and I just don't think there's going to be room for something like that. So, so really, those are the only two. I'm sure Odin Chronicles I'm going to start feeling a lot bigger about, like, once I get more time into that, which I have been playing. And Banishers, I'm sure once I play that, I'm like, well, this is like top 5. Like, this is a darling I need to be
definitely talking about. For narrative, so. It'll be up, and characters and that kind of thing for sure. Gameplay is actually surprisingly good, but it takes a while to really unlock enough skills for it to get into.
I didn't mind the little tutorial at the beginning. I was like, this is fine. Like it was vampire.
It's like,
it was vampire.
It's like,
you know?
It's like God of War Light is what they end up going. Like by the time you get all your different pieces in place, it's like, okay, it's nowhere near the quality, of course. God of War is like top tier. This is like, you know, it's like, hey, they tried to copy God of War and they got like we'll give them a B- on it. Like it was pretty good. It's pretty good.
Pretty good.
Pretty good. Okay. Let's get negative for a quick second and then we'll go back positive. So thinking back so far on this year, and you guys might not have any, and that's totally legitimate if you don't. Disappointments. What are some disappointments in gaming, whether it's a specific game or just something about gaming in general, I guess, from 2024? So I'll just give you a couple games and I'll throw it to you guys. I have 3 main disappointing games specifically of 2024. One is kind of obvious and an easy one. Everyone will probably say that was maybe a little bit hyped for Skull and Bones. Didn't like what the final product was. I put that on there because I wasn't necessarily disappointed with how the game looked or played. I actually thought it was pretty competent at its core gameplay. I was just disappointed that it truly was kind of just another weird live service thing that just puts me off just enough that I don't want to play it. And I love a good open world pirate adventure. Yeah. And it just, I was just disappointed that
nothing screams the 10 years of development was worth it, you know, when you're playing it. Like it just nothing screams that.
Yeah. But you know, they really talked about how like this is a single player type game too, an adventure. There's a story. Like they really pushed how like it'll be fun for individual players too. And that is, in my opinion, not at all the case. I don't think that's true at all. I think it's fun with friends, you know, and I think that's...
they really want you to ship up and co-op
sure. So that's one. We already mentioned this earlier. I'm not saying it's a bad game, but I was disappointed with how much I didn't want to keep playing Senua's Saga Hellblade 2. And I'm not trying to be overly critical. I'm just going based on what they promised. It is not a much bigger and bigger scope, more gameplay, more in depth. Like it's not what they said it was going to be a long time ago. I realized that tune started to change over the last year or so. I realized that, but my hype for this over the last several years was much higher because I'm thinking, dude, we're going to get like Xbox's God of War type experience. Like this is going to be amazing. And it's just not that. It's a very narrative driven, psychological kind of a crazy thing. And it's beautiful, but I'm just disappointed that it's not. I gotta tell you, I can't stand listening to those voices. I just can't.
I can't either, man. Yeah, I can't either. I know, and yes, I know that's the point. But
yeah, I don't want to play it. And then last but not least,
yeah.
I was super hyped for Nightingale, and it still could end up being a game that I love, but
it's early access.
It's very early access, super choppy. I had horrible performance on it. I know they've probably rolled out 3 updates since I last tried it, so I should give it another try and really give it a fair shake. But I was just disappointed because I couldn't even experience it really. So I don't know if I like it or not. So those are some of my disappointments. What about you guys? Any have you had any gaming disappointments for 2024?
Yeah. I had one, just like, I can't believe I don't love Rise of the Ronin. Like, there's a samurai game out there that's open world, like, that is competent, but it's like
but
just
Kyle,
enough.
It's the best combat. It's the best combat.
It's just enough, not a flavor of game that I like. And the combat sucks. Like, that's just, it's competent, but like, it's not like amazing. Like, come on, that's crazy. That's the craziest thing anyone's ever said. I just, and maybe I'll go back to it and maybe I'll really enjoy it. And what I did play, I didn't hate, but I just like I have never in my life experienced a game, like a samurai game, where I picked up and it didn't become my whole identity. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
sure.
Ghost of Tsushima was the first time I was dating a girl at the time, and it was the first time she saw me as a gamer, because I was just like, I gotta play that game. Like, you don't understand. Like, there's all these stances you gotta unlock. Like, I gotta follow these foxes, man. Like, it just there was like something. There was something, and it was like, it's been like that for everything. Whether it's like a Musou game, Samurai Warriors, anything with samurai in it, and it's always been for me, and it just felt weird to not be like totally obsessed with this game.
Dude, I agree with you. I think if Ghost of Tsushima didn't exist, even if Sekiro or Nioh 2 didn't exist, I feel like all those are better samurai type experiences in their own ways than Rise of the Ronin was. It's fine. Like, if you love it, that's great. I totally get why it got middling scores and it didn't click for everybody, because it didn't click for me.
Seems right to me too.
Yeah. Okay.
And the only other one is Star Wars Battlefront Classic. What the heck, Aspire? Come on.
Oh,
what the heck, guys?
That was a mess.
What the heck?
What the absolute heck? I've never paid so much money. Like, I think it was like $30 or something like that. And I downloaded it. I couldn't even play it the first couple nights and just had to uninstall it. Like, I was just so.
Did you get your money back? Did you get a refund?
No, it was a PlayStation. No, I don't care. They got my money. It's fine. But yeah, I mean, it sucks. So,
that is
stop re-releasing old games that don't work. That doesn't make any sense, especially if the old games do work.
Agreed. I agree. All right, Dan, what about you? Anything disappointing so far for you this year?
I think the only thing, and it's just more that I haven't played enough of the game, is Paper Mario. It just I don't know, for as much as people have expressed how, especially this one is like the best one and it's so fantastic. It's like some people's like top 3 video game of all time. I'm like, I don't know. I think the writing seems really funny. I have enjoyed like the way the characters are portrayed, or just like little moments, like when I had mentioned there was like some stuff going on in the background like really early in the game, and like I thought that was actually like legitimately hilarious. But I think the combat is just really boring. I think I don't love the look of this game as much, and I guess maybe I'm just biased, as Super Mario RPG. I just think Super Mario RPG to me is just more charming. I think the paper thing is just kind of
that like, it is, yeah.
I don't know. There's just something kind of like it's just like, yeah, let's make everything paper. It's like, okay, cool. Yes. I mean, I don't know. But again, I grew up with Mario RPG. It's my first RPG. Again, I'm biased. So, but I haven't played enough of it to really fully have an opinion on it. So I don't hate it. I need to play more of it. But
you're just disappointed that it didn't hook you the way that maybe it could have.
Yeah,
there's a game that comes with a lot, because I haven't played the second one either. I've only ever played the first one, but like people do hold it in like a Metroid Prime level of reverence, like just a lot of absolute love for that.
For a lot of people, it is their Mario RPG. You know what I mean? Like for a lot of people, it is.
Yeah, which is crazy. Yeah. Because I forget how much of it is like RPG outside. Like there's still stats and leveling up and stuff like that in the second one. Okay, well, yeah.
It's also not really like there isn't like a party system. Like you have one, because you do recruit. I've recruited a couple of characters, but one's like a Goomba character, one's a Koopa like character, and it's like I don't know. That's kind of just not that interesting to me either. I mean, you also have Super Mario RPG that has these really unique. You got Bowser. You can recruit Bowser for God's sakes. Halfway through that game, and freaking Princess Peach. But then you have Geno and you have Mallow, which are just there's only two, but they're very unique characters specific to that world. So I feel like so far too in the combat, like it's just Mario and one other person, which is kind of like boring. But then they're also not interesting to me either. So. It's not making the combat feel really interesting yet. So
okay,
yeah,
that's a fair one to be disappointed about. Like, it's not like the game is bad; it just didn't quite do it for you. So I totally get that. By the way, if for some reason we drop off, I've got a storm that's rolling in.
Oh Jesus!
So if I lose power, then I'll just message you guys on the phone and let you know. But anyway, okay, all right, let's keep rolling. Let's swing it back up to positive real quick. Let's talk about. Yeah, if we could. You guys want to be positive for a second? Is that cool?
I guess.
Okay.
Go
have you had any games this year that have surprised you? Maybe you weren't expecting it, something that caught you off guard that you were like, oh, I actually really like this. Is there any of those ones that maybe are contenders for Game of the Year, but maybe they're not? Maybe they're just games you still really liked, even if they aren't necessarily contenders for Game of the Year. So for me, of course, I already mentioned one. It's not legitimately having a shot at winning my Game of the Year, but Mini Sheet Adventures was a wonderful surprise out of nowhere. I had no idea that was going to be so lovely and awesome, and I really enjoyed it. So that was a pleasant surprise for me personally. I guess Balatro's in that as well, but not as much. It didn't hook me like it did for some folks. And then I'll also mention Unicorn Overlord. I wasn't sure what that was going to be, but at first I thought, hey, this kind of looks like one of those Vanillaware games, but it's trying to be Ogre Battle. I don't know. Guess what? It's an awesome Vanillaware game that's absolutely Ogre Battle, and I love it for it, and it's amazing. So I was very surprised, not only how much I liked it, but how well received it was, just overall from folks. But did you guys have any surprise games so far for you this year? Like a pleasant surprise?
For me, it was Stellar Blade, because I played the demo, and I don't know if you guys remember. I was like, oh, I don't know about the combat because it feels a little too slow than I was anticipating. But once you get going, like the speed of it does pick up because you can actually like equip things that makes Eve move a bit faster and like do certain things. And just getting used to the combat in general, it's not actually as slow as like right in the very, very beginning of the game. So yeah, it was definitely that game for sure.
Yeah. Okay. What about you, Kyle? Any surprises this year?
Surprised by how put off of Hellblade 2 I was, to be honest. But
same here.
We're being positive. I'm sorry.
Oh, positive.
My bad. I was in a fugue.
Bring
state.
it back to the
P.
Yeah.
No, nothing that would make Game of the Year. Nothing I would even push to be on the top 10 list. But like Capes, I was like, I can't believe this game is like actually kind of fun, and I didn't know anything about it.
Super dark.
So yeah, Capes is pretty all right. And I did not think I was going to play Power World for any longer than an hour. So like to get like 20 hours out of that game is like crazy to me. Yeah. That game does not deserve Game of the Year. It will never win Game of the Year. I wouldn't even pitch it for Game of the Year, but it was a surprise.
I do know what the elevator pitch was for Power World. It was like, let's take every piece from every game that's been successful and shove it into one game. Like,
yeah, right. What are all the ingredients right now?
Let's do all of them.
And Mullet Mad Jack, which I might in other categories push for it. But yeah, that is like the fun. That is the most fun I've had playing a game this year. Like in just terms of like, how do I know? Like if I just turn a game on for 5 or 10 minutes, I know I'm going to get something out of this game. So I'm really enjoying that one a lot. So big surprise.
Giving the bad guys the boot right into a giant fan, and as
it feels
blood
pretty nice.
Everywhere. It's pretty great.
It's
It's pretty good time. All right, guys. Last but not least, what would you say is your most played genre of game this year? Like, what's your most played genre overall so far this year? So, for example, for me, as I was looking through the games that I've played, and then I've got ranked the highest, and I know this is pretty generic, but it's absolutely action RPG. So it's not pure action games, and it's certainly not pure strategic or turn-based, strategy RPG games. It's that mixture of both. So everything from Final Fantasy VII to Banishers, No Rest for the Wicked, even Prince of Persia is technically a side-scrolling action RPG with platforming, a lot of platforming, but it's certainly an action RPG. Enshrouded, even my time spent with stuff like Rise of the Ronin, like so many action RPGs so that's for me far and away what I've played the most of. What about for you guys? What's been your most played genre?
Probably same, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, to be honest, yeah. Elder Scrolls, The Witcher, Grand Blue Fantasy, Final Fantasy VII, like you said. Yeah, those are all. I mean, yeah, those all kind of fit the bill.
I put a lot of time back into Hades. It's also in that action RPG roguelike category too, I think.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it was definitely that. I mean, and then Eiyuden Chronicle would be the other game I've played. That's probably the one I've played the second most.
I mean, RPG is probably right behind it, to be honest. Yeah, for me, yeah.
It's just RPG, like basically.
Yeah.
Just
if there's role playing to be I'm doing it. So.
Yeah, for me, if I had to pick a second, it's probably the side-scrolling platformer. I've just played so many of those, whether they're older or current or demos. Like those are the ones I'm just drawn to. Like I want to play. I don't know. I just feel like playing a lot of the side-scrolling stuff. So that's been second. Anyway,
yeah.
Hey, it's been a interesting year so far for games. It doesn't have that same like. I know the years like 2023 were like, holy crap, how are there so many good games? That like I know there are some years where it's just insane. And I'm not saying this year hasn't been great. I think in a lot of ways it has. It's just been really interesting. And there's a lot of anticipation for what's to come. I think most of us are looking to 2024 and in some cases, 2025, and in some cases even 2026. I'm guessing Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to be out in 2026. I could be wrong. Maybe it's a 2025
They
game.
said 2025, right? Because it's not coming out then. If that's
no, I think whatever they say, you add a year to it.
That's what I think. They said 2025, so I think I'm with you. I think it's 2026. Yeah.
I think most of us are kind of looking there for that stuff, but there's some really exciting things still to come this year. Everything from Star Wars and the Black Myth Wukong game you guys talked about already, and the new Assassin's Creed could be great. I don't know. Anyway, all that to say, it's been an interesting one so far. I have no idea. Like there certainly is not, in my opinion, an automatic shoe-in for game. If we did Game of the Year voting right now, I have a feeling it would land on Rebirth without too much of a struggle. Just because of think about all the games that all four of us have played and
That's
really enjoyed.
We've all played and loved.
Probably the only one, and that usually is gonna rise to the top. That's why stuff like
cream. It rises to the top.
I can't do the voice, but yes, you're right.
Oh yeah! No, I can't either. So, Jeff, you got to come back, dude. None of us can do voices.
Yeah, we need Jeff here. But yeah, like same thing. I mean, God of War, Ragnarok, Ghost of Tsushima. Like if you look back at our Game of the Year winners, it's usually something that everyone played it and either loved it or at least liked it a lot, and we end up landing at like that's the one. I think that's our. So I think so far it's not even super close. There's a lot of games that will be fighting for that second, third, and fourth spot, but. I don't think it'd be super close. So we'll see if that holds for the rest of the year. I think Rebirth is clearly in that top spot as a group right now, and I know for Dan it's certainly his number one. And for me, it's in the short list. I just don't know. I truly have not tried to rank them. It's just one of those ones that's like, yeah, that one could win. That one could be my number one game, and I'd be happy with it. I loved it. Yeah. So anyway, all right. Well, let's move on past Game of the Year talk. And let's talk just a couple of quick headlines. We don't have to talk about all these. I was just jotting down a few headlines that I saw from this past week today. Multiple Assassin's Creed games, remakes are in the works. They're on the way, according to the Ubisoft CEO. We knew about Black Flag.
We knew about Black Flag, which I'm excited for. I think that one sounds cool. Yeah. I don't know if you need to remake any of the other ones, but maybe you do.
Okay, but what if they remade 3? And it actually like has modern day Assassin's Creed vibes, and you're playing in like Revolutionary War America.
I mean, they would have to add so much, like
to make it good.
Yeah, that's just a remake. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rebuild.
Yeah. I'm with you, but yeah, I could see them doing the Ezio trilogy, right? Because
you could put all those games in like one package with a nice new. Glass of paint on it, some quality of life stuff. Sure, that would sell well. Yeah.
I feel like that's the one that it's just there's so many of them now, and the games are big. They're all
so big. Yeah.
The one that to me would be the no-brainer to do as on almost testing the waters is just redo the first one. Go back to Altair and remake it. Make the city bigger, give it more to do, make it more of the open world Assassin's Creed that we kind of know now. Make it
Mirage, pretty much. You're saying just make it Mirage.
Oh, please make it better than Mirage. Mirage was just. Mirage was so okay. You know what I mean? It was just okay.
So okay.
Looked really pretty.
But that is of the original, that's what they were going for.
Yeah, you're
but
right.
It was a good beginning, like blueprint, because then they nailed it pretty hard with 2.
Up, right? You can only go up from that. So not that it's that bad, but like I feel like you could take a lot of lessons learned to make.
I loved all the Ezio games, right? All the Italy ones were so good. So I would happily revisit those again. 3, I didn't hate like a lot of people did.
like
I
3,
just didn't. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it like everyone else did. I thought it was a lot of fun. I love the setting. I thought being in the woods and the snow and like Northeast, East Coast USA during Revolutionary War. I thought the time period was
Killing
great.
people with Tomahawk was pretty sick, man.
Yeah,
I thought it was, I thought there was a lot of fun stuff in that game, but I get it. I get people's like
the modern day story kind of ruined it for a lot of folks too.
Dude, I didn't play all of 2, so I had no idea what they were talking about, gods and meteors and stuff like that, and I was like, I don't know.
They
what's
went off
going
the deep
on,
end. Yeah,
dude, I was so there for all that too. I'm still like, there was so much potential there. I thought at that time, to me, it was such a unique thing, like blending the two things. And like
going for it, that's for sure.
My assumption was they're gonna, because I think there was like actual like art, like they were maybe mulling the idea of like a future Assassin's Creed, right? Like in the future, and like the massive skyscrapers and jumping around, and like that sounded amazing to me. It was like,
that'd be cool if that's where it ended up, but like it hasn't really gone anywhere, and not to discredit the people who are still kind of enjoying the modern day stuff, because I know people still kind of like the puzzly aspects of it, but like I like sigh when that stuff starts. Like I just can't. I can't. And it's specifically in the new stuff, there was at least like a story going on, like in the first like few. It's crazy, and I didn't really understand it, but at least it was happening. But like the new stuff, it's always just some random person. They're like, yeah, I'm here playing a video game, or I'm at a temple.
But it circled back around, though. It circled back around with the new ones, like to tie into. I don't want to be too specific, but like to actually almost tie in with the Ezio trilogy. Like it's almost like they knew that was like the highlight of the whole modern thing. So they're trying to like weave that back in a way, which is like, from what I remember in which one was it? Was it Origins, or maybe it was? I can't remember, because I finished Origins and then Odyssey, not Odyssey. Well, shoot, what was the third one? The last new one? Valhalla.
Valhalla.
Yeah, that one is wild, dude. Like the modern shit that's going on in that one. Like I don't know if you finished it, Kyle, didn't you?
I was pretty much in the last part of that game before I was just like, I can't play any more of this. Okay. No, I couldn't care about that modern stuff. Sorry, man. Yeah, I wish I could be as enthused as you are about it, but I just could never get into that. I don't even know if
it's enthusement. Like I was just kind of like, you're doing a thing, and I see what you're trying to do, but it almost feels forced, because again, it's like it's almost trying to.
Oh, you're saying it was trying to recapture kind of like an old, like what it was trying to do before, and maybe it's. I'm
trying not to say the thing, because there's like there's something there that like there's literally a thing that happens, or like an entity or whatever. Again, I'm trying to like be vague and specific, and it's like, okay, I see like kind of what it's like. I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. It just sucks, because I was on board at that time. So
I'm here for those big concept swings. For sure.
Yeah.
Always go for the swing.
Curious, and this is going to be. I'm trying to figure out if I should spoil it or not. The game's. How long has Valhalla been out?
Oh, spoil it. Who cares? I don't know. If no one here cares, who cares?
Like 2-3 years.
Skip ahead if you don't want to hear about modern day Assassin's Creed stuff. But a big part of Valhalla's story is that Basim, who is the star of Mirage, you get his story. Right. He is the only thing really making Valhalla have any connection to the Assassin's Creed world. That really is just a Viking open world game. Yeah. And then you have this Basim guy who sets up shop and kind of teaches you some Assassin's Creed stuff a little bit, but not really.
I didn't realize it was so unconnected. That's hilarious.
Oh, Valhalla is so
now that you mention it,
yeah, very unconnected. There's some hints of the Templar stuff with the king and the of England.
Yeah,
but like not a lot. Anyway, and maybe the DLC does more. I don't know. But all I know is at the end of the main game, the modern day stuff, what happens at the end of Valhalla involves you trapping or imprisoning. I don't remember exactly how it plays out, but Basim gets trapped in his time, whatever that was, the year 700 or 800, whatever year that was, and then is actually alive and well in modern day. And he's wearing modern day clothes, and he is actually on site with he shows up. And you get to walk around as him in that modern day setting. So that was like the first time they did any element of like, oh, is there kind of like a time travel, like time bending, something happening? I thought that was the first time they hooked me a little bit with modern day story. Like, oh, what are they doing here? Why is there assassin in modern day? So I don't know what they're going to do with that. Maybe the DLC actually built that out more.
Does Mirage it doesn't expound on that at all?
That's just his background story. Mirage is just his background.
Is there no like modern day elements to Mirage.
There was. I didn't see it. I don't remember.
So Tim, you're missing the main like bonkers like what the F is happening element of all that though, because there's that whole where you're like fighting Fasim at the end, right?
Yes.
So the thing I was trying to like not totally say, Kyle, is and geez, I can't even remember his name. What was your modern character there in the
boy.
Desmond?
Desmond, thank you.
Oh, Desmond. Okay, I gotcha.
He's basically some kind of like digitized god thing all wrapped up in that or something. I don't even know how to explain it. Like
yeah.
There's like a whole like he's like this gold figure and he's talking to you in this omni like omnipotent like voice type of thing and he's talking to you and it's Nolan North because he voiced Desmond.
Yeah, sure. Right.
Which is cool because it's like, oh, it's Nolan, that's cool, like he's great, but it's like they're doing this whole thing there where it's like somehow Desmond is like in there, but like we remember what happened to Desmond.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, so that's that's what I was talking about. So I was like, dude, I see what you're trying to like bring this thing in here, but like that's weird.
The stuff with Desmond feels like just a response from fans who are ticked off that he died.
Right.
Yeah, right. I know a lot of people were ticked off about like how things felt unfinished about that stuff.
There's the modern day main girl that you control in Valhalla, Layla. I know she is like she's like this weapon bearer of the special staff and only she can use it. So you have a couple fight sequences where you're kind of in this deep in this tomb and you're fighting as her and whatever. But basically what happens at the end is Basim tricks her, confuses her, or manipulates her, whatever, to get her to release him from this thing that he's been stuck in for centuries. Yeah. And so to me, it's kind of like, oh, he's an assassin just like she is, but he's also kind of villainous and seems
he's a bad guy, right? Yeah.
So anyway, I like okay, the modern day story, maybe it's something because they spent some major releases like Black Flag where you're just walking around this corporate headquarters.
Yeah, that one really baffled me, man. Yeah, I could not understand like what at least Desmond was like, oh, we're all still entwined in this big conspiracy. Like they're at least like
or they're like on the run and he's in this Inception style like coffin in the van and they're like you know what I mean? Like they have something happening.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but that the video game one was weird. It was like commit slight corporate espionage, like
are we just Ubisoft now? Is that like this is Ubisoft's headquarters?
Right. Has none of this really mattered and these have been video games we've been playing the whole time? I don't know. Like I didn't really understand what they were going for with that one.
That's definitely one where I was like, oh my gosh, get me back to the pirates because this is so stupid. I don't want to be here.
When they got more and more optional too, so it's like you can like piece out of those moments too. So like I don't even remember any of the stuff because as soon as like I started playing as Layla, I would just jack right back into the Matrix. Like you would have to do like a couple things that were just like slightly mandatory and like but that was another thing that they like fixed though. It's like, hey, if you don't care about this stuff, you whatever,
Get it.
Yeah.
But I still wonder if you would get those.
I gotta tell you, at the very end. It's on them just to make it compelling, make it good writing, good characters, just make the modern day stuff compelling. You don't have to just make it optional because fans don't like it. No, just make it something that they will like.
Yeah, right. Especially if it feeds into the greater story. Like obviously you were saying this does, like,
it's a war against Templars and the Assassins, so you can. I mean, I feel like there's something you can do there that can be interesting. It doesn't just have to be they're at war with one another. It's like,
well, have there be take a few like a not too distant future Assassin's Creed game.
Oh yeah,
I think that sounds sick.
I picture in my head like a Blade Runner, like super in the future, like these like 500 story tall buildings. Yeah, like cyberpunk, but you're up in the bit like somehow like jumping around building. You have some sort of like gliding thing, and you're jumping around and or like Spider-Man type of elements too.
I think that sounds awesome. I'd be so into that.
Instead of the name V, your name is W. They just they don't really try to hide it at all.
Right. Wait a minute, W is just two V's.
Oh shit.
All right. Xbox is bringing Game Pass Ultimate Cloud Streaming to Amazon Fire TV devices. It's not super surprising. You can already do Xbox Cloud Gaming on other devices, but the fact that you can play on your TV without an Xbox is just more of what we've all talked about and predicted. That Xbox over time is moving away from having a required hardware. I think they'll always have hardware available for the foreseeable future, but they're making it less and less of a requirement, and that's no surprise, I don't think. Also not a surprise is that Obsidian's Avowed game is said to be similar in length and scope to the Outer Worlds. They confirmed that. Developers confirmed that. So that's great. Not too big, but also there's a lot to do. But yeah, won't be overwhelmed.
I mean, Outer Worlds, remember, was still like 60 hours if you really let it be. It could be 30.
I think I finished the story in it was right on the 30 range, high 20s. Like I
was like 45 for me, and I felt like I did just about everything.
Yeah.
Hey, it's kind of okay to just have games have large areas. Not everything needs to be open world. So
yeah, and I love the area size in this games and all the planets you go to and Outer Worlds were perfect. So if and I don't know how they're gonna do it in this. If is it realms? Like I don't know what it's gonna be like, but like it doesn't really matter. Like if they're that size. Those were perfect size playgrounds, in my opinion.
If everything looks like that key art did with that skeleton holding the sword, like I don't care, man. Make it all look like that. That looked amazing.
I want it to. Yeah,
it's one of the best art pieces for a game ever.
So cool, yeah.
You guys talked about this in our chat early this week that Capcom has announced Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster. I don't think there's a release date on that. Maybe it said later this year.
We'll hear more at like some kind of keynote or something like that they're doing. Okay. Like showcase that they're doing sometime this month. So I'm sure we'll get dates and stuff. Yeah.
We also heard that Jet Set Radio, the IP is still alive and well. And at one point a while ago, we heard that they're working on the next game. But apparently, there's Jet Set Radio remake screenshots and video that's being leaked online. So
again, this is a separate project from the reboot that they already announced.
Separate from the reboot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this series making a comeback, huh?
Yeah. Good for
why not? There's been some interesting indie
in all the video games.
There's been some interesting indie spin-offs, like that.
Bomb Rush,
Cyberpunk
Bomb Rush. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
the name of it's somewhere in the words that you and I just said. The name of it's somewhere. So, guys, it turns out that trying to get people to buy AAA games at full price on Apple devices apparently isn't selling super well.
Get out of here.
You guys remember, but Resident Evil 4, the remake, as well as Assassin's Creed Mirage and Death Stranding were all it was big news that Apple showed them at their big event last fall about how they're coming to iPhone, and people just aren't that interested in playing those kind of games on those devices right now. Maybe at some point they will, but right now they're apparently not selling super well.
I am interested never. So.
I am so shocked.
Yeah, not at all interested in that either. And at some point, the technology will be at a place where it's like, yeah, your little device, any screen you go to, it can launch it up on the screen. You have your little portable controller and you can play. Like, yeah, sure, maybe when we're super old dudes, that's going to be a thing we can all do. But
I think I'm on Christopher Nolan's side when he was like, you can't watch my movies on a cell phone. Like, if you play Death Stranding on a cell phone, I want to slap the phone out of your hands a little bit.
It's going to have to be a thing where like the phone
can stream
when our phones can stream 4K or something to a big screen seamlessly. Like, okay, then I'll
sure. Now I'm getting it.
I still want nothing with that future. Either give me Minority Report or The Matrix or something like that, or give me
you can move things around. Minority Report,
or give me nothing, or I want to be in the world. I just want to be in the world.
Yeah, I love that Tom Cruise basically was just kind of like, and then they made it look really cool.
Great movie though. It's a great movie.
Stellar Blade Studios they're looking at a PC version, but they can't comment officially due to its contractual relationship. Dan, who is that you think that they're talking about?
No clue.
It's not Sony, is it? It's not Sony.
I'm more concerned about the booby mods more than anything.
Oh my gosh.
I'm concerned about that above all else.
Don't be concerned. Unless you install it and go look, then that's on you. You don't have to worry about it.
Well, I'm just saying, all the weirdos out there that are absolutely 1,000% going to do it, and then there's going to be screenshots all over the internet.
I don't mean to break it to you, Dan, but every video game on PC ever has a booby mod.
All of them do.
Every single one of them.
Sure.
Dude, do not go look up screenshots of the Conan Exiles game.
Don't put any game booby.
Can you guys point me to the direction of 7 Rebirth mods, please?
No, we cannot.
That probably exists.
Yeah.
On the PlayStation. So.
100%. 100%.
And last but not least, and I don't want to dwell on this, but it is worth mentioning because it's in our world, it's in our realm of gaming. But Dr. Disrespect is in a lot of trouble, and I've never actually watched any of his stuff, but he is in the news big time across.
I don't know anything about what this guy is, but I know all about this news story.
He wears what looks like a fake mustache and hairdo to hide his real identity.
So the mustache, I believe, is real. I think that's real, but the hair, definitely a wig. Definitely a wig. Okay.
And then the big like stupid sunglasses, the big personality.
He was wearing he wears body armor, right? Or something that looks like body armor, like when he plays games. Yeah,
he's playing a role, right? He's
playing a role, which I respect. I like bits and characters. That's fun. Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I suppose
he's in a lot of trouble.
The disrespect angle, maybe we can go with the respect angle instead. We have a lot of negativity in the world. Maybe lean towards Dr. Respect,
Yeah.
Disrespect.
Thank you, Michael Scott. Anyway, yeah, so basically this guy has apparently been messaging someone he shouldn't, who's underage, and at least that's the accusation, that's the allegation. But it's enough that he's being dropped by everything. Like
he admitted to it on Twitter also. Yeah, he admitted to it on Twitter.
Admitted it. He straight up
said
I
had inappropriate conversations with a minor via Twitch on Twitter from him. Yeah. So that's an admission of guilt. Is what that is.
I just want to say, like, it's not drama as some people seem to think it is. I'm a little disappointed in some people in our Facebook group, if I'm going to be completely honest.
It's not drama, it's criminal.
It's a crime.
Literally, you can't be an adult and
also,
be doing.
If you don't care about something, don't comment. That's a pretty good rule of thumb too, because you do care. If you're commenting.
Good point.
Like, I get that.
I obviously don't care because I haven't read up on it enough to even know that it was confirmed. I just thought it was like, hey, he's in big trouble for the stuff that he might have done.
Yeah, it was like a couple days into the accusation where he was just like, yeah, I'm gonna come clean.
I didn't even follow up. Okay, interesting. I certainly don't care, but yeah.
So this is a little tinfoil. This is a little tinfoil hat, but like the timeline does unfortunately kind of line up. The little bit I know of him, so in 2017, I believe it is, he admitted to cheating on his wife. So that was a whole thing, and I think he took some time off of streaming or whatever.
It's weird because I don't know if that's anybody's business, and I don't know why you get it online. That's so bizarre to me. But whatever.
And then I'm pretty sure it basically lines up with the year that this guy was inappropriately messaging this minor. So it leads people to think, well, if he did stop messaging this minor, okay, you stopped messaging this minor, but what were your intentions? Because then you slept with someone that wasn't a minor, not being your wife. Was his intention to actually go all the way and do something super not okay at all? You know what I mean? Like, so.
Dude, what if he was on To Catch a Predator with that Chris guy? Remember that old show?
Yeah. People were comparing what he said to the things that those people would say when Chris Hansen caught them. Like his language was very, and his admission was very similar. Well, I wasn't planning on doing anything, it was that type of. Dude, we were just talking. It was harmless.
You've got a basket full of alcohol and condoms. What do you mean you weren't gonna?
Yep. No. I mean, exactly, yeah.
Like, I get, if you don't give a shit, because it's like, well, big streamer, who cares? Let's not give this attention. It's like, no. It could be regular Joe Schmo walking down the street, or it could be the biggest person. Like, you got to treat it exactly the same way, which is, this is totally 0% unacceptable, and everybody needs to make this a big deal, because, unfortunately, these crimes are not made into enough of a big deal. Agreed. Like, people do this stuff, and worse, and still walk the streets. So,
agree.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, dude. So he's in big trouble for good reason then. Yeah.
Well, he could be.
I don't watch a whole lot of streamers and content creators out there, other than the Dapper Chocobo, of course. I do try to tune in there when I get a chance.
That guy's pretty
not a lot of accusations and controversies going on over
just
there.
Just being accused of playing awesome games.
Maybe being accused of being incredibly wholesome, maybe.
Yeah, too classy. You know what I'm saying?
Hold on. I should look this guy up. He sounds all right.
He's got the top hat and the monocle. He's too classy.
Yeah. He sounds all right. He sounds
all right. All right. Well, let's move away from Dr. Disray and get into other things we're playing and watching. Kyle, let's start with you this week. What are some things that you've been playing? And you had mentioned that I don't know if GTA was the main thing, but what else are you playing? What's the new content for old games that you're diving in?
Yeah, the GTA was new content for 12-year-old game or whatever. So that was fun. I won't go back and more into that. I'm still
mostly
playing
solo when you do that, Kyle. Like you just playing.
Yeah, always. Yeah, I'm never. Every once in a while I'll have a buddy who's like, oh, I'm kind of interested in playing that right now too, but they'll drop off pretty quickly. But yeah, no, all that content's pretty easy to solo. I'm still playing Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance. This RPG is so incredible, and it's so hard. It's
Nice.
So much grinding. Like you have to do so much grinding in this game. Really enjoying it. All the additions are like out of this world. Like I can't believe we played a different version of this game, to be honest, because
you're
like
on PS5 for that one.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, it's not the sharpest looking game. It has one of those like effects that I was telling with Luigi, where it's like this was absolutely a handheld game ported to bigger consoles. But they do a good job enough where it's running at 60 frames. It's pretty. It's just
who makes
maybe
these
not
games?
AAA.
This is an Atlas, is it? Is Atlas?
Atlas.
Yeah, it's Atlas.
Yeah, it's Atlas.
Yeah,
Yep.
Okay. I don't know who the team is because Atlas is like the production company, I'm pretty sure, but unless Atlas has like in-house stuff too,
I'm pretty sure they're the dev.
Who's their production team then? Yeah, it doesn't really
matter.
Matter.
I mean, they must have like multiple teams, but like maybe they just don't have names to them.
Because like Atlas, this is like Atlas like oversees Persona and this, but like these aren't the same teams. The Persona is
so it's
own
Atlas
team.
and Atlas West are attributed as developing it and published by Atlas USA, Sega.
Okay, so they're self-published, self-developed. Okay, I got you. Good looking out. That game is super good. That's another game where if y'all are hungry for an JRPG, like you can go no better than this. This is like top tier, great mechanics, just harsh, like just super harsh.
89 on Open Critic. If you guys are curious, like people love this game.
Incredible. I hope it makes some money so we get more of these. But Persona's making enough money for everybody, so it's fine.
True.
I said I was playing a little Eden Chronicles. I already talked about that, so that's still been really fun. I beat The Witcher 3.
Hey,
remember that new game, guys?
Yeah.
But you hadn't beat it before, game? Right?
No, this is the fourth time I've wrapped this game up to completion.
Okay.
Yeah. This is the fourth time I've rolled credits on this game. So now that I've played the main game, which by the way, the ending of this game is so awesome.
So good.
There's so much big, huge, epic stuff that goes on from like the Battle of Kaer Morhen, like all the way on. Like it's just like it's such a strong third act to a game that has such a strong first act when you're thinking about that Bloody Baron stuff and everything. You get the emotional impact there, and then you get the physical epic impact at the very end. It's just such a what a video game. And I don't know. You know what, Tim? You might agree with this. Might be one of the greatest games of all time.
I am right there with you. By the way, maybe it was Dan. You're the one who hasn't finished this, right? You put.
No, I have finished it. Just never the DLC. The DLC.
Got it.
So that's why I'm finishing it, because I've only played the DLC one time, and I'm on a DLC kick this year. So I'm trying to replay that stuff right now.
Are you going to do the smaller one first?
Yeah, I'm actually a few into that already. So I remember how cool that setup was, where you're meeting some guy like in his, with his band of people. Or
his name's like something Odin or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. And it's just, man, what a good game. That game is still one of the best looking games ever made. It's so crazy, that PS5 upgrade. Like it is insane the amount of detail in this video game and how well it runs, and it's just crazy. That's what a great company that CD Projekt Red is.
So good.
And then I just beat Skyrim Dawnguard today, so
nice.
ran through that like 30-hour DLC.
Nice.
That was Elder Like
had you started that before our DLC talk last week, or did that get you to want?
I did start it. Yeah. I was beating and wrapping up Elder Scrolls the main campaign, and was starting Dawnguard, and Dawnguard's absolutely outstanding. There's snow elves, there's big epic showdowns with vampire lords, and plots to blot out the sun, and yada yada yada. It's just super epic. They do the best. That's why I'm so excited for the Starfield DLC. It's like they're DLC from Bethesda just is always good. It's always been good. They set the example back with Knights of the Nine way back in the day, and like they're still just putting out some of the best stuff post-launch. So it's good to go back and play some of this stuff.
I mean, the DLC would be better if it was on PlayStation, but whatever, it's fine.
It would almost be a whole 1.5 point better, this video game.
Easily.
Yeah, totally, absolutely.
That's the Sony tax, by the way, is that you have to score our games 1.5 points higher if they're on
that's right. That's right.
That's just science.
That's why look at Hi-Fi Rush. That's a whole 1.5.
That's right.
It's probably not right, but
it was scored so high. It was so good that they had to close the studio on Xbox, because
that's
Xbox,
why they closed it.
Because
oh my gosh. I like this conspiracy theory, guys. This is good.
It's good, yeah. And watching wise, I don't even want to dwell on it, but just because it's cultural, House of the Dragon's playing right now. People are banging, and there's dragons.
On
Game
Dragons?
of Thrones, guys. Yeah. No, not yet. It's probably a season finale thing. But
I was gonna say if they're doing
that's
that's wild.
It's great. I don't want to. Yeah, y'all. Everyone will get to it when they get to it, and it's gonna be great when y'all get to it. So,
Nice.
That's it. That's all I want to talk about.
That's a fun one to have come out in the summertime too, like having a big
I like that.
epic show like that.
I do like that in the summertime, and it feels like it has its own space right now. Even though a lot of shows are airing right now, it just kind of feels like that's the one that people are watching, and it's been fun having Game of Thrones back. It's always fun when Game of Thrones is everyone likes it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's when everyone doesn't like it, it's not fun anymore. But when everyone's liking Game of Thrones, life feels pretty good. You know?
Yeah.
I remember the hype with the. Yeah.
I really thought that this series was just kind of like a prequel based on the show, and then you and Jeff were telling me about how there's actually kind of a compendium style book that Martin did write about all this that they're pulling from. I didn't realize that. What's the name of the Lord of the Rings one?
Oh my gosh, why am I blanking on Fire and Blood? I think.
What's the Lord of the Rings kind of compendium book?
The one this show's based off of?
No. The Lord of the Rings one. What's the Lord of the Rings?
Oh, I'm so sorry. The Silmarillion. I'm so sorry.
I can never say that word.
Silmarillion. I always say summer. Like, it's summertime. It's Silmarillion. Yeah.
So, like, I didn't realize that George R. Martin had written essentially that type of a thing. I know it's not the same.
Very similar in the way where it'll be like date and then like a short story.
It's Silmarillion.
Yeah,
it's similar.
Silmarillionly.
Circle.
Oh,
looks like a ring.
No, I can't say that word. I don't know how to say it anymore. Yeah, they're kind of kindred spirits in that regard, and there's a lot of cool stuff, from that book from George R. R. Martin that they're pulling for this series. The series it's high quality stuff,
George Railroad Martin.
How many seasons do you think they'll do for this? I know it's a hit. Does that mean they keep milking it till it's bad?
Maybe 4 or 5. I could see them doing 4 or 5 for this.
4 or 5. Yeah.
I was gonna say, hopefully they learn their lessons from base Game of Thrones.
Well, this story's done, so
okay.
Like that was the problem, right, with the other one. I can't speak for everybody because I don't know where people come from. I think there's
had to make some leaps.
I think there's problems with the last season, but I don't think it's like some gigantic garbage fire like a lot of people think. It's fine.
Production value is still off the charts.
Yeah, it was still like super expensive, but like you could tell that when they ran out of source material, these guys were kind of spinning their wheels a little bit. Like that's a pretty objective thing. I think everyone.
I think so too, and I think it's fair to say they made some leaps that made a lot of us go like, we're missing a lot of details because the first like 3-4 seasons had so much detail, and they took you through every possible stream because it's based on a book that has an insane amount of detail. Right. And then all of a sudden the detail was gone, and you had all these leaps that started happening, and it was like,
and some of the ideas I don't even think were bad. Just the express lane way that you get
express lane.
We just have to tell the story.
It was storytelling express lane. I love that. That's exactly.
So So again, we can sit here and pick it up. There's some objective problems with it. I think people are kind of crazy that they made it their whole
people got obsessed with it.
Years later, they were still just I hate everything about it. That show sucks. I'm like, it was 10 years of everybody's life, and the whole show sucks because. 9 episodes.
Because it finally ends, and it doesn't end exactly perfect per their.
Nothing ever does though, right? Endings are tough.
It's hard.
Look at Lost. No one likes no one likes the ending of Lost. Look at Dexter. Nothing really ends well.
They actually came back around with that, and in my opinion, I know Jeff didn't like it. I like the way that was a new. What was the last season? New Blood, I think it's called.
I never watched Dexter.
I actually like the way that ended because that's how it should have originally ended. In my opinion.
I'm gonna channel some Jeff and say, "Hey Dan, why are you such a mark for Dexter?"
Yeah,
is that what he said?
Yeah, that's what he would say if he were here.
He would say it with a better Scott Hall voice than I can.
But the endings are tough, So, but I'm sorry to not go on a long rant or whatever. But this has an ending, so they're not going to run out of material. It's just. I think the big problem was that people were worried that the showrunner from the last season left, which I was worried about too, and some new guy came on. And I'm like, who gives a shit about this new guy? The last guy's so good. He did the Battle of the Bastards episode of Game of Thrones, one of the all-time greatest ever. He did basically all the best and he show ran last season, which is why it was so good. Okay. So him leaving, it's kind of it's never good when the showrunner walks ever for any show. You don't even feel it at all in the second season. I hope not. People are not, at least. I'm not feeling it, at least.
Yeah, whenever someone complains about the way a show like Game of Thrones went, I understand it. I do. And I empathize if they love it. But on the other hand, like, it certainly didn't tank from like a 10 out of 10 to a 0. Maybe it went down to a 7 or an 8 from time to time, but it still stayed really good. Look at something like Walking Dead. That show was so good for a couple of seasons. Like,
the drop off on that show was epic.
Honestly, I was so into that show. I was even watching like the Talking Dead after show hosted by Chris Hardwick. Like, I loved everything.
I'd say the first 4 seasons were, I mean, the first 2 or even 3 were definitely more solid.
2 was rocky, remember? It just all took place on that farm, you know, but I think we were still...
2 had some ups and downs.
I think we were still like living in the, 1 was so good, like we're going to all be patient with 2. And then 3 kind of picked up a little bit in the...
It was really that whole, like, once they got to the governor and then started to move past that, things got a little bit...
I like the governor arc a lot, to be honest.
Okay, me too.
And when I mean a lot, I still think it's a 7 show. You know, like,
once that was over, though, it was kind of like, what are we doing?
Once it was over, I couldn't care. Like, I just
ended when they introduced Negan, and I love Jeffrey Dean Morgan, but when they got
that's exactly
Negan,
where I dropped.
I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like,
I actually like that episode too, where he shows up and bashes Glenn's head in. Like, I was like, this is metal, dude. This is awesome.
It was a great cliffhanger.
They fake killed Glenn 3 episodes before that, so like, dude, you sucked out all of like my, and that's why I quit. I was like, well, this moment was totally robbed. By a dumb story decision.
Dude,
and like,
I think
so
I'm on the same page. I am so on the same page. But the way they did the cliffhanger for that moment was brilliant. A first-person perspective of him hitting, and then you heard like just the noise,
screaming.
People were like, he walked this many people. People were making diagrams trying to figure out who it was.
They were.
You know, like, it was
with the wall and the strings.
Yeah, I'm telling you, Charlie Day standing there.
Yeah, 100%.
He hasn't been sleeping on oxygen to figure out who it was. I mean, that was like a legitimate. Like, now you have to wait for, I don't know how long it was. Was it a year? It was definitely several months until we got the next episode. So the next season or whatever. So anyway, all that to say, people need to chill out about stuff like Game of Thrones. Sure, it did, and even Lost,
where it's like devolve into nonsense.
Like, even Lost took some weird turns and didn't go a direction that I really liked, but I still have to respect the way it wrapped up. I was like, this is pretty good. Like, it's still pretty good. I just thought the first 3 seasons, maybe even into season 4 of Lost, were just brilliant television. Like, some of ABC's best original stuff. And then, the rest of it was good. The rest of it was good. And I felt the same way about Game of Thrones. They changed TV. For the first 4 or 5 seasons, it just changed TV.
I always challenge people when they're just like, well, I hate that whole show now. I'm just like, well, I mean, it was kind of a remember? I mean, like, people were having like eating parties.
There had been nothing like
people
it
would show nothing. Like, people were showing up in costume to their friend's house and eating like Westerosi like cuisine snacks while watching the new episode of basically a bunch of like white people talking to each other about war. Like, there was not a lot of action in this series. There's some deception and backstabbing. Sure, I'm being really reductive to prove a comedic point, but like, like it's like it was such a phenomena, So it's like, all right. So Cersei got crushed by a bunch of rocks at the end. Like, who gives a shit, Like, you got to remember the ride, man. Like, we were all there for like
of a
10
thing.
Like, we're a lot of us are most of us here are like 40 or near 240 or whatever. That's a fourth of our life.
I know.
A fourth of our whole life has been spent with Game of Thrones.
Right.
And we're gonna act like it's just not a big deal.
People are quick to take the one detail in the whole spectrum of a thing, and because that's not the 10 out of 10 like the rest of it was, it just sinks everything.
It all dies together.
I get
it. I get why people do it. I just
if the series had started in the fast lane like you described, and they really weren't hitting the key points of the book and like getting you to know and love and hate characters the way they did, then maybe I'd be on board. Like, oh, it's too bad they couldn't quite nail what the book captured, but they didn't, man. They really captured it. So anyway, I know we kind of went off on a little Game of Thrones / Walking Dead tangent, but I had fun. I liked that.
I liked it. Yeah.
Dan, what are you playing and watching outside of all the new things you're playing, and Luigi's Mansion 2?
So many new things. So still just working on Eden Chronicle. I think I'm like 60% the way through.
Oh, nice.
I'm getting there.
How's your castle looking? It's looking pretty good.
It's my castle is level 2, and then I got, which then open, and it just then more things like open up. I'm like,
Such a good feeling. Yeah,
more things. So it's just really, it's really awesome, dude. More RPGs need to have a base, and then things more games need to do that.
I want the numbers to go up. Make the numbers go up.
Give me the numbers going up, but like also seeing things like, evolving, buildings all decrepit, and then they look nice because you pumped money into it. Economy, economy, guys.
It's important.
Yeah, it's very important. So Aiden Chronicles great. Like I said, everybody who scored that a certain score are dumb. So my wife and I, we finished. What were we watching before The Office? We were watching something I can't remember. And now we're back on our rewatch of The Office, but we're doing the super fan cut.
Oh yeah.
On the Peacock app there, which is like with all the extras, like few minutes that they had cut out.
Oh. That's fun.
A lot of brand new jokes you hadn't heard before if you didn't watch that before.
So when we got the Peacock app the first time, we were like, oh, let's watch the fan cut. And we started at season 1. And first episode is rough with all the extra stuff because it just feels so much longer because it's the first season, which I don't hate the first season of The Office or Parks and Rec.
The first season of any show, people are finding their footing in the characters, right. So
I still enjoyed them. I still think I'll still when we do a rewatch of Parks and Rec in The Office, we always start with season 1. We don't skip
Friends was the same way. It took till season 2 till it really started to find its groove.
I would even argue that Parks and Rec isn't even the same show in the first season. It turns into a good show, but it didn't start as a good show.
They stopped trying to make Leslie.
When I go back
they stopped trying to make Leslie Knope be a girl Michael Scott, and they let her be her own character.
Yeah, the second she was able, they got rid of that wet blanket of a character in the first season.
Yeah.
He was there for the first 2 seasons. He was there for the first 2 seasons.
They got rid of him and at some point and brought in the right amount of loud characers to match Leslie.
That's when Ben and Chris showed up, and that's when things
They did a really good job of figuring out that's we have to share, it can't just be Leslie Knope's show. We have to it has to be a multi-character show.
Agreed.
But the extra, we basically jumped into season 2.
Smart.
This time around, and have you seen them, Tim? Have you seen the episode where the women are upstairs having their their little whatever it is.
And so Michael Scott does a guy's thing down in the basement.
Yeah, he does the guy's thing, and he calls Ryan a pussy.
Yeah, I remember that.
I was like, oh my God, I can't believe he just even said that, and to Ryan, and it's just holy shit, I just wasn't I don't know, it totally threw me off. I was just I can't believe.
It felt like bloopers that didn't devolve into them all laughing. You know what I mean? You felt like you got a little extra.
Mm-hmm. And there was another out of pocket thing. When Daryl, when they're the Christmas party, they're all a little drunk, and Daryl calls Angela a bitch or something like that.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And then he's kind of oh, okay, you know what, my bad. And he just kind of backs away.
Yeah.
And Angela's just kind of standing there. I was like, oh my God, holy shit. So just there's just some really out of pocket stuff that it just obviously didn't make it to the base episodes for obvious reasons, but it actually still flows really well, even though it's an extra maybe 8 to 10 minutes.
I found that towards the end, I don't know if they added anything, because I don't know if you remember the last couple of seasons of The Office, it would have 40-minute episodes that would air, or 45. They aired longer episodes towards the end of that show, and so I think they included most of the stuff that they wrote. I could be wrong.
Because they've been doing it in waves, right? It wasn't just out the gate. All the Superfan episodes were available. I think they've been doing them.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's why I thought that then. Maybe that'd be cool to go back and see what they've added since I watched it probably a year and a half ago, something like that. It's been a lot.
Because I haven't even checked. Yeah, I haven't even checked how far it goes. If it is all the way or just up to a certain point.
Okay.
But I am enjoying the extra stuff. It's very good.
I'll still sometimes just go on the YouTube rabbit hole watching bloopers from The Office. I freaking love it.
I love bloopers in Parks and Rec in The Office.
Parks and Rec, yeah.
Parks and Rec is bloopers are good there. Yeah.
It's just so good. It's so good. Just characters. Yeah, just when characters, especially ones that are serious, when they break character, that's just good stuff. And then I watched I don't know what even made this pop into my head, but a movie called Underwater. Are you guys familiar with Underwater. It's a horror movie. It's got
Kristen Stewart is in this.
Yes,
Yeah.
Stewart, which apparently bombed at the box office, bombed at the theaters, but it like actually did pretty well. Like once it came to streaming, like on Netflix, I think a few months ago, it was at like number 6. Like people were like super like into it and watching it. Not on Netflix at the moment. I had to rent it off of Amazon Prime for $2.50, so it wasn't anything that serious. It's actually pretty terrifying. It's so it basically it's like takes place in 2050, and it's like a drilling facility that's like drilling essentially down at the depths of the ocean, like at it's essentially the core of the earth. So like just the concept of that, the pitch black, because obviously it's so far down there you can't see jack shit. And it pretty much starts like shit hits the fan in like the first 5 minutes of the movie. It's like only an hour and 34 minutes. It's not a super long movie, but it's terrifying. Just if you're also just like a person who's terrified at the idea of being that far down in the ocean, like
so it's like The Descent, like that was another one that didn't do well in the box office, but was like a horror darling. Also kind of takes place like down in like dark places and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I remember watching one that was kind of more space themed. That Event Horizon, remember that one? That old.
That's a classic. Yeah, absolutely.
So what you're saying kind of reminds me of that a little bit too. That was a scary one.
But
I think these are all kind of eldritch, type of, because this isn't kind of Cthulhu-y or whatever. Like this one, Dan.
Some stuff you basically so in the first 5 minutes you're like, oh shit, like things are happening, like basically like the facility starts like imploding in itself, and they're thinking it's like an earthquake. They're like, oh man, is that another earthquake? And so you have like a group of characters and people are dying and stuff. But like, yeah, it's basically framing it as like they think it's an earthquake, and then you get to a certain point in the movie where like they are listening to like an audio thing, and you're like, oh shit, what's going on? So you start like, all right, I think it's one of these kind of movies. So yeah, there's definitely some pretty scary imagery going on in the latter half for sure. And also they have like these almost like underwater space suits on, because obviously it needs to be the suits look like spacesuits because you're so far down in down there that obviously it would just crush you, right? So it's supposed to be all sci-fi, like it's not going to crush you.
It's 2050. They have the tech.
That's right. So they're actually like walking down on the surface of like the bottom of the ocean at the center of the earth, and like they just have the lights off of like their suits, and it's just pitch black. It's very scary. Yeah, and I think Kristen Stewart is like perfectly fine in the movie. People really hate her. I'm wondering if that's why it bombed, because people are just like, oh, Kristen Stewart, she sucks. She's from the Twilight movies.
She's pretty competent. I saw her in that Love Lies Bleeding movie this year, and she's fine in that movie too. So
okay.
like,
Looks like it got middling reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, not canned, like at 48%. So it's not like horrible, but it's also not great. Audience score was 60%. Honestly, I think it's just because she puts off a very like, I don't really want to be here or care about being here vibe, and I don't know if she means to, but she kind of has that April Ludgate from Parks and Rec vibe a little bit, where it's just kind of like.
Well, I think Twilight really like did a bad thing for her, because like whereas the other dude who's freaking Batman now, like his trajectory has been really like good.
They both went the same route though. They both went, we're going to become like huge indie darlings, and they did. Both of them did. They both found a lot of success there, but now he's like obviously
the difference is he shows a ton of range, and she's kind of the same in those things. So he could do.
But that's also like using Twilight as the example. That's what that character is supposed to be, and I think people were just like, she's like boring and she sucks, and it's like, no, that's just what that character is supposed to be.
I've seen her in movies that I do like Adventureland.
I like her in Adventureland,
but like she's still kind of the same.
She's kind of she's kind of like a downer character.
But that works.
Same in Love Lies Bleeding. She's not doing anything new in that movie. She's just doing. She's doing fine. She's doing good. You know? She's just not doing anything new.
Yeah, the range of emotions here, she's expressing them like in a matter that makes sense. Like the moments that are terrifying, she is terrified. When somebody dies, she's like, "Oh, mother." effort. Like, I can't believe this. And she's just like distraught. So yeah, I mean, she is doing perfectly fine.
By the way, a limited range of like doing everything isn't always needed.
No.
I love Keanu Reeves, and I think he's got a very limited range of.
Jack Nicholson is considered one of the most legendary actors of all time, and he has a limited range is not a criticism by any means.
Keanu Reeves, I think even like Jason
really well.
Jason Statham, like they're limited, but I still like them a lot.
Yeah. But yeah, it's not doing anything crazy, but I enjoyed the movie. Again, it's not super long. It does exactly what it needs to do. It's terrifying. It's a fun.
I've heard this as kind of like a one of those like underperforming darlings. Like people are like, no, it's actually really good. You know, which again is kind of the trajectory of a lot of these like horror movies that we were talking about during this combo.
Yeah.
So
I liked it. I liked it. So
nice.
So yeah, that's basically what I have.
I was hoping to watch this movie on Netflix. I haven't had a chance to yet. I'm probably going to watch it this week. Most of my kids will be at camp, so it'll be quiet this week. Called Hitman with Glenn Powell. Looks awesome.
Very good. Yeah.
Is it good? Okay. It looks
movie,
like it's got amazing reviews, and it looks like a lot of fun.
Really thought this movie was gonna suck because it just like when you look at it, you're like, yeah, it's a.
That's what I didn't think anything of it.
It's a couples comedy like love
thing.
Dude,
it's got a 96% on Rotten Tomatoes.
It's not that. I'll tell you that it is. It seems like it's going to be some kind of tropey by the numbers thing, and it's actually a very, very, very fun movie. I think he wrote the movie too.
How about Glenn Powell just having a moment right now, man?
He's awesome. He's hella handsome, and he's very, very, very charismatic, and he's a very good actor. I think that like we got settled with a pretty good leading man. As you know, he's kind of like
help write it. He was one of the screenwriters.
Yeah, I thought so. Okay. Yeah, this is like his this is kind of like
him
his
and
project.
Richard Linklater wrote it together.
Linklater, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I'm gonna check this one out. This one looks good.
You'll like it. Yeah, it's good.
All right. So, also staying on that theme real quick. I got my wife to sit down and watch Arcane season 1.
Well, you got her to watch it? Nice.
I did. Yeah, but we had stopped, and then we had 3 episodes left. And I wasn't sure. It's not like we stopped. We chose not to watch anymore. It was more of like we had 3 more to watch, and we just hadn't brought it up. We watched the documentary series in between, and like I just kind of thought, all right, hey, she gave it, what is that, 6 episodes, and this is not her style of thing. It's very kind of video gamey anime style mixed together, and I don't know. She was interested enough, but then she goes, we should watch more of that anime show thing that we were watching.
Wow, nice.
And so we watched all 3 episodes in a row the other night because she wanted to see how it ended. That show's number one. It's probably my favorite animated show ever. And believe me, I love all the other ones that are award winning and everyone else loves. I think it's my favorite. I just love it so much. But when it finished, she was like super into it. I think she really liked it. Like the character of Jinx, especially the Harley Quinn nature of her descent into madness, is so well done. Like it's all really good, man. It's such a good show. And the music and the visuals. There's so many shots that are like, this is actual cinematography in this animated film. Like this is beautiful.
Insane. It's bonkers to me that they're ending it with season 2. I'm like, I hope this isn't like a rush thing, like, or if this really was like planned as like, this is the story and this is what we're telling. Like,
I mean, there's part of me that thinks if you had ended it where they ended it, it was still super compelling, and I'd recommend it to everyone. Like, what a cool like way to finish things off with chaos and a lot of unanswered questions, but what a fascinating story. So I'm happy we even got a season 2, to be honest with you. I'm thrilled that we get season 2. So yeah, absolutely loved that. Couple games real quick. Jeff's been asking us to try this Islands of Insight game. He's the one who told us about it earlier this year. It's this puzzle game. It was free for a minute. I think now it's only 50% off, so it's like $15 right now. But it was free on Steam. I don't know why. It said 100% off, and I don't know why it was 100% off. So I just
grabbed it real good.
I grabbed it, and then the next day, because I put it on their group, and someone messaged and said, "No, it's only 50% off for me," and I was like, I don't know why it was 100% off at that moment. I took a screenshot of it too, just to prove it. Like it said 100%
I saw the
off.
screenshot. Yeah.
So anyway, so I grabbed it. It is a. So at first I thought, all right, this is just going to be a fancier Witness, and I'm probably not going to really dig this. But in a way it kind of is. But there's so many puzzle varieties. It's not exactly the Witness. So you are kind of in this weird, like dreamlike Greek god-looking setting, and you start to solve these little. Almost like Othello style puzzles that you see, but it's a grid instead of circles. You guys remember Reversi or Othello? Those that game.
That sounds familiar, Othello, but I never played it.
It's like the little white and black pieces that you flip when you like. Anyway, so you saw these little puzzles where you got to put things on a grid and you have these rules, but then it turns into other things too. These environmental puzzles where like there'll be a set of rings and you can only look through the gold ones, but there's also purple ones mixed in there, and so you have to get to an angle somewhere around them where your line of sight is only through the gold ones. And so like you're solving puzzles like that, or you're matching symbols in the environment, or you're aligning these orbs that are floating into a perfect circle, or you're going into these crystal like glass labyrinths and finding your way to the end of those. They're really kind of tough to navigate because it's hard to tell when it's a wall or floor or not. And they, of course, everything gets progressively more difficult. You unlock new islands you can travel to, lots of new puzzles. Like, it's a really creative game. You see other players running around playing too. You're not in competition with them, but you could just see, it'll say like, so-and-so solved this puzzle, so-and-so, like, it's kind of a community thing while you're playing on your own. You're not like actually solving puzzles together. You can just see other people. You can see other people like looking at these rings, trying to get to the right angle. You know,
it's gotta be. That's like my level of interaction with people that I like online. Like this, I like to know that you're there.
Yeah.
I don't want anything to do with you though.
I'm glad I'm not alone, but don't look at me.
Yeah, exactly. I'm glad I'm not alone, but don't.
You sound like a cat, basically. It's what that's. It's basically a cat.
Yeah, I want to be near you, but don't touch me and don't look at me.
Right. Yeah.
That's a cat. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really cool puzzle game. Some of them are super creative. They get really I think of them like brain teasers. It's not so much like the same puzzle over and over, or like it's these increasingly difficult brain teasers where it's like, all right, I have to connect all the little black blocks together, but then it has a rule on the side. You can't make it into this shape. It might be like a square or something. So you have to like connect them, but you can't allow them to be in a square shape. It's just brain teasers basically. And I really appreciate that from time to time. That's why I like sometimes playing stuff like Professor Layton on the DS and stuff like that. Like I like a good brain teaser from time to time. Is it the kind of game that I'm like, oh, I can't wait to go play it again? Not really, but I might fire it up for 10 minutes and solve a few puzzles and back off. So it's cool. I do like it. I think it's cool. Also, just, I mean, let's be honest, I'm playing so much Elden Ring. Just maybe too much. You can see, I realized that this wasn't a sword. This was the tip of his spear that I showed you guys last week.
That's
that makes
so
sense.
tall.
Yeah.
I just had to attach it in the right way. So yeah, I actually just defeated that boss today, this afternoon.
Mesmer.
Finally got to Mesmer. I'm at the point of the game where you can do a point of no return, like I'd mentioned before, from soft moment where you're like, oh shoot, I guess I am done with all that stuff. That's over now. So like, I'm at that point. You can do that. There's still a whole bunch of bosses left that work your way up to the end, but it's kind of like the final act of the DLC. Okay. So now I'm just exploring and unlocking all the other areas and a lot of optional bosses. The worst boss so far is this guy named Commander Gaius, who rides on this big old war boar. And he's just too fast and he just plows you over. And I couldn't beat it. It was the only boss so far in the DLC that I've died a lot, don't get me wrong, but it's the only one that I felt like, I don't know how I'm going to defeat this. Like, I just don't think I can do it. It was the only time that I actually had that thought of, crap, I think I might be stuck. I thought I loved this game. I think I hate it now. It was the first time that I kind of like was really having.
Go review bomb it on Steam.
I think I'll get this super up. And so, and this was, by the way, I did end up beating him, and it was before the patch that made things. Everyone keeps saying like they patched it to make it easy mode, and they really didn't. They
do this every time. They did this Elden Ring too. It's like they just patched it to make it easier, and it's like
definitely they just balanced it more. So like your progression as you use those items I was telling you about last week, where you kind of can do a Shadow Realm only upgrade for damage and defense. They just make it give you more of a boost at the beginning, and then it tapers off more in the second half of those upgrades. So that way you're never overpowered, but it gives you a little more of a fair playing field at the beginning, because it really is like at the beginning, every enemy hits you so hard and you come out of the main game feeling like a boss, especially in New Game Plus, like I'm in, and they humble you pretty quick. So I haven't noticed a difference. The numbers might be a little higher on the damage I'm doing. I still feel like when I fought Mesmer, 2-3 hits, if I dodge poorly, I'm dead. Like he hits so hard. So anyway, so I'm fighting this Commander Gaius guy. I couldn't figure out, so I start looking it up online, of course, and everyone's talking about how Gaius is either their favorite or least favorite ever boss they've ever fought. And it turns out like a lot of people are saying with certain builds you can have incredible success. These like lots of super strong tower shield builds and then just poke from behind the shield. And I don't have a build that's set for that at all. I'd have to go totally respec and totally change the way I play. And I don't want to. I like my magic casting lightning dude. So anyway, you guys are aware of the summoning ashes in this game, right? Where you can summon all these different. There was one that I actually hadn't collected yet because I didn't care about it. So I went back and got these little great shield soldiers, and they're actually super weak. They're these little like undead guys that die really quick, but they have these great shields that they hide behind completely. And this particular boss really only does physical magic and sometimes gravity magic. And he hates those guys. You can summon like 5 of them at once, and they block almost everything he does. So he stayed so focused on them, and I just sat there throwing lightning at him, and I beat him. And it was so satisfying. I was like, I didn't have to do any, like, somebody might call that cheating. Fair enough. But I used tools the game.
It's not. It's literally in the game. They put it there.
I didn't do a thing where it's like, hey, if you jump on the 4th rock and hide behind a tree, then you can't hit. Like, that's cheesing them, right? Like, I didn't do something he still hurt me. He still came after me a few times, and I had to do some dodging. I actually had to. There's a dodge mechanic with this boar that runs after you. I could not time the dodge right. And if you try to dodge through him, like iframe through him, the back legs of this boar hit me every time, and it's almost instant death. So I ended up just like stripping off all the armor and going to light weight. And so you roll a lot farther and a lot faster. And so that ended up letting me dodge through him much better. And then I let my little great shield guys do their thing. It was great.
That's literally called using strategy. Like, that's like if I was playing an RPG and I'm playing against, I'm fighting whatever boss that's like, say, weak to like, I don't know, ice magic. And if I use ice magic, it's like, well, you're cheating or you're cheating. It's like, no, he's weak to it. I'm going to use, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, so that's what you did. Yeah. You used something to your advantage. It was his weakness. Screw him. So
it's the main thing is I just needed him to not focus on me for a second to get an attack in. Yeah. That's what I was struggling to do. And so those little guys did no damage. I don't think they hit him at all. They just walked around holding their shields up, and then he kept going after. So it was great. Yeah, he held their aggro. Exactly. So I just needed some tanks. But anyway, guys, there's some areas of this game that are just jaw-droppingly beautiful. Like, I can't believe that they look so good. No. The main base game had some incredible areas. This one has upped the ante. They have this whole area called the Cerulean Coast, where it's just these floaty blue flowers everywhere that's just glowing. It's just incredible. They have this whole area that I've never seen an Elden Ring area not look like it's been burnt or destroyed or a war was fought. Everything usually looks destroyed. Even if it's pretty, it's destroyed. And there's a whole area where it's just these lush green grass and flowers, and there's like a house and the tree, and like the winds blow. Like, it's just like, why is it pretty? Like, what's happening right now? And so, but then they'll have these huge, what they call the finger graveyards, which I know sounds uncomfortable, and it is, because, a lot of the lore is around these 2 fingers that are guiding you. It's all very confusing and weird unless you read into it. But there's these gigantic areas where you have these huge fingers just coming out of the ground. Some of them are broken. Some of them are like pointing to the sky. Like, it's one of the creepiest but coolest designed looking places. And then you have these creepy serpent men that will slither around and try to bite your head off. Listen, this game is awesome. Okay, this game is amazing. It's very difficult at times. I'm glad they did a little balancing patch. It is still very difficult. Mesmer took me several tries, but I used what was available to me, and me and my mimic took him down eventually. In his second phase, the artwork is incredible. The design in this game continues to be just jaw-dropping. So anyway, Elden Ring is the best, man. It's just the best.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, it's so good. So anyway, all right. Well, that does it for the stuff that we're playing, stuff that we're watching. I really do want to go watch that Hitman movie, but you actually made me want to watch a dumb horror movie now. I want to see this underwater movie.
I do too. I kind of want to watch a dumb horror movie.
It's breezy, even if you're kind of like, oh, that was just okay. I mean, it's an hour and a half, an hour and 34 minutes.
Which I don't need my dumb horror movies to be any longer in that. No. You know what I mean? Like, it's already hard enough to keep someone in a state of kind of like panic. Like, right. It's like, so just get me in and get me out.
Agreed. Agreed. But then listen, thank you guys for watching, listening, and next week we will preview the rest of 2024 and talk about what we're most hyped for, make some predictions. It'll be a good time. So until then, we'll see you. Thanks for watching. Bye.